People fought demons, and heroes conquered the domain of the Demon King. This was the history of the past centuries, and then peace reigned on Earth, after which an era came when fighting and hunting in dungeons are considered simple entertainment. On that very day, this guy lost his job. Adventurers and monsters use similar tricks in battles. Both prefer to use magical clones in combat. During the dungeon raids, the number of deaths has been reduced, and video recordings are being broadcast across the continent. In the current world, adventurers, and even demons, are not so important. The hero and the Demon King eventually became just ordinary professions. One day, a rather strong wind rose in the Demon King's castle on the 4th floor. Someone brandished his weapon and said that his opponent was impudent. The guy with blonde hair easily got rid of his enemies one by one. To fight, he used Alba's magic sword, which raged fiercely. Werewolves died in battle extremely quickly, and the host was counting it. Suddenly, he stopped and said that at least 10 werewolves had been killed at once. He asked if it seemed to him, after which he exclaimed that it was an amazing power. The presenter noted the fact that it is quite difficult for a guy with white hair to use this skill due to the fact that he is vulnerable during his attacks. After that, he quickly noted that the Holy Knight Lark was covering for this guy. He said that everything was exactly as expected of him. The presenter said that he was a very caring assistant. The man said that they were both very strong, but they should not forget about group coordination because it is still important for the raiders. The other guy thought that he couldn't hear them inside the dungeon, but he could assume that they were talking about them. The presenter also talked about Lark's skill, with which he can use himself as a shield. He took a few steps forward and coldly said that he was attacking him. Lark asked if he could count on the guys to handle the vanguard. The guy with white hair with a wide smile exclaimed that, in that case, they had no choice, and then asked if this was the case. Lark turned around and stared at them silently, using his shield. A girl came forward who quickly said that he could just move forward. Immediately after, there was a bright flash of light in the room. The presenter exclaimed enthusiastically that it was her. The whole hall was shouting loudly. The presenter quickly reported that it was lightning fast. He stated that there are only 3 confirmed users in this world. The girl pulled her bowstring, and the presenter quickly said that today they would be able to see the supersonic shooting skill with their own eyes. The girl's arrow hit one of the werewolves, and the presenter said that this speed is simply impossible to notice with the naked eye. He said that if they pay attention to the enemies exploding from the arrows, they will be able to clearly feel all this power. The presenter shouted that 8 of them were completely destroyed in just a moment. At the same time, the Phoenix goes to the floor boss, who guards the gate to the next floor. They had the feeling that this whole situation was just an illusion. There were still dozens of werewolves roaming around, so Phoenix's companions had to attack with all their might to protect him. The guy was thinking that it looked like most of them had already fallen, and that was pretty good, because if they continued at the same pace, then they didn't have much time left before the boss. Suddenly, a werewolf rushed right next to him, who was killed quite quickly. The young man called his friend Alba by name. The guy told him not to just stand there like he was just a nuisance to them. He grinned maliciously and asked if this could mean that dark magic specializes in this. The guy looked extremely offended by these words. At the same moment, a huge monster that was behind Alba himself and was ready to attack him was killed by his other partner. The girl looked at them and said that there were still tramps walking around and therefore they should concentrate. Alba irritably agreed and went ahead. However, he could not help but look at his partner and cast an extremely malicious glance at him. The guy remained silent, and the presenter loudly announced that it had finally happened. He said that the Phoenix had finally reached the boss's floor. The boss of this floor was really gigantic in size. He is 3 times the size of a normal werewolf, and the presenter really admired this enormous strength. The host exclaimed that it doesn't matter how strong the boss is, because they have a Phoenix that doesn't even show a hint of fear in front of the boss. The guy held his sword while telling the leader of the werewolves that he was sorry, but they would definitely pass this floor. Phoenix deftly swung his sword, but the werewolf screamed loudly and tried to attack the guy, but he successfully blocked this attack head-on. The presenter noted the fact that the Phoenix blocked the attack with his sword, and it's just an incredible sight. The werewolf tried to break the guy's sword, but in an instant his entire arm was covered with a bright light, after which he lit up to the very base. The presenter screamed loudly, noticing that the flames were surrounding the monster's body. He said that the floor boss was writhing in pain, struggling with all his might, but still would not be able to escape from there. The monster screamed loudly as the Phoenix swung his sword again for another attack. After that, he pierced the monster's body with his burning weapon. The werewolf caught fire and stopped making any sounds, silently surrendering to the flames. the guys came closer and watched the monsters slowly die. Lark only watched this for a while, after which he took a few steps forward and said that their battles would absolutely always be victorious. The presenter loudly exclaimed that it was already over and the floor boss was now winning. Phoenix, the hero of the flame, once again defeated the boss with one blow. The whole hall was shouting loudly in admiration. They just did an excellent raid on the 4th floor, and no one felt sorry for the Phoenix team, the hero of the flame. The host said that the might of the holy sword would differ depending on the spirit inside it. The soul controlled by the Phoenix is the spirit of fire, which is said to be the source of all heat in this world. This is clearly a spirit of the highest rank. The presenter reported that his selection criteria were extremely high, and it was for this reason that, over the past 170 years, he was the first to conclude an agreement with the spirit. Now the guys have entered the safe zone. After that, the presenter said that it seems that their raid has already ended here for today, and this is extremely bad, because they all want to see the continuation of their adventure on the 5th floor. After that, the presenter thought deeply and said that if you figure it all out, then the dark magician Leame has a support position. However, if we take into account the current system, the presenter does not think at all that the team will give him preference. Suddenly, he confessed that it seemed to him that if Leame had not been there at all, the situation would not have changed much, because, in any case, the white magician would have suited this team much better. The viewers who watched the show agreed with the host and said that he was right. They did not hide their opinion that Leame did not move a step during the raid. The guy was amazed and unhappy with these words, not understanding why they started doing the same things again that they had done in the past. The dark magician. White magic includes recovery, enhancement, and purification skills that are useful in battle. At the same time, black magic is intended for the exact opposite use. It is used to slow down the enemy's speed, as well as weaken its attack and defense. Dark magic also helps with clouding the enemy's mind, contributes to its instability to poison, and blinds with darkness. Black and white magic are different from attacking and defensive magic. It is quite difficult to notice their effects visually, and most people know exactly why only black magic is neglected. The reason for this was that it was simplified. The effects of white magic are healing wounds and enhancing abilities that teammates can easily feel for themselves. However, since the target of black magic is the enemy, their associates do not notice any special changes. All this was true, and now that dungeon trips have turned into entertainment, black magic becomes even more unattractive in their eyes. During the battle, even if Leame weakens the opponent's magical and physical attack, even speed, mental abilities, limits their visibility, this has never been covered live. Unlike his comrades, who fight with brilliance, in the eyes of the audience, Leame just stands aside and waits for them. Even if he does cast spells, he'll just get an absurd amount of comments saying that he's just weird and saying some nonsense. He looked up and wondered if he remembered correctly that the next floor would be the 5th, among all the dungeons scattered around the world. Still continuing its record for the number of teams that failed to reach its final floor is the legendary dungeon castle of the Demon Lord. Thanks to the authorization raid stone, it is possible to recover from the last checkpoint, but even so, not a single team that opposed the Demon Lord in the deepest part of the Demon Lord's castle lived to tell about this place. The Phoenix team included the warrior Alba, the Holy Knight Lark, the huntress Lily, as well as Leame, the dark magician. Among the 10,000 official teams, this particular team took as much as the 4th place. The positions of the teams in the ranking are determined by the Adventurers Association based on popularity and achievements, and they are updated every year. Leame was thinking that, for a team as strong as this one, it remains a mystery exactly why they need someone like Leame, especially from the viewer's point of view. He thought about the fact that their team officially consists of 5 people, including the hero. Besides, Felix, the hero of the flame, was with them. In all 130 years, Phoenix was the first to sign a contract with the Spirit of Fire. Many have high hopes for him to put an end to the legend of the impregnable castle of the Demon King. And Phoenix was also Leame's childhood friend. He smiled at the rest of the team and asked if they should go back. Leame silently looked at Phoenix from the side, and when his friend noticed this, he smiled at him. The guy thought about him and worried because such a hero, compared to him, a simple and unpopular dark magician like him, was simply incredible. Leame raised his gaze to the sky, thinking that on this very day he had lost his only job. This event happened shortly before the guy left the team. There was a lot of noise in the small tavern. Leame stood in front of someone and listened to the words that he was probably a burden to their team. The Holy Knight Lark and the hunter Lily were in the tavern. Suddenly, someone abruptly put a glass with a drink on the table. The Alba warrior looked at the man in front of him with displeasure. The team of adventurers sat awkwardly at the table. Alba asked if he was really wrong. The Phoenix hero jumped up from his seat, loudly calling out the guy's name. Alba shouted back words telling him to stop standing up for him. The warrior Alba pointed at himself and frowned heavily. He said that he says it every time. Lark, Lily and he joined this team, proving their bravery and strength. The guy looked at Leame, asking what about him. Alba said that the guy was just a childhood friend of Phoenix, that he just took a place in their team. He asked if Leame understood this. Alba, sipping a drink, asked the guy who would have allowed the dark magician to join them if it hadn't been for Phoenix. Leame laughed awkwardly, agreeing with Alba. The warrior then exclaimed with great indignation that there was nothing funny about it. He told Leame to just face the facts and stop parasitizing Phoenix. At that moment, someone called out the warrior's name, telling him to stop. Phoenix frowned in displeasure and told Alba to apologize to Leame because it was too disrespectful. The guy began to talk about the fact that Leame is not as weak as the warrior says. Alba looked at the guy, responding by saying that he didn't think so. The Alba warrior rose from his seat, examining his comrades. He asked them what they thought about it. The guy looked at Lark and Lily, asking that they didn't have to take care of him. Lark listened to the guy in silence, and then replied that he didn't care if the guy was with them or not. He said that's what he thinks. Alba looked at Lark carefully, asking him if this meant that he would prefer someone else in his place. Alba said they could get better than him right now if the guy left. Lark just mumbled something in confusion. Lily listened as Alba talked about how if they had accepted a more active person, it would have been easier for them. He actively asked if the guys understood now. The girl suddenly intervened, saying that she did not like listening to his vulgar speech. Her words caught the guy's attention. Alba looked at the girl with a smile, answering her with words that he was not particularly brought up. He asked what Lily thought of this guy. Lily silently looked at the guy in response. She was loudly called by name. She replied that she didn't think Felix would add a person to the team just because of personal attachments to a guy, ignoring physical strength. Lily added the words that, in any case, it is true that the effect of black magic is not always noticeable. She said that moreover, they were advancing through the raid with high speed and offensive power. The girl said that for this reason, to be honest, he would prefer someone stronger instead of support. These words greatly surprised Phoenix, so he tried to address the team. Alba grinned contentedly, saying that this is how things are, looking at Leame. Alba, with a grin on his face, threw his arm over Leame's shoulder, calling out his name. He said the words that he said all this not because he hates the guy or something like that. He asked if the guy understood that. Leame replied with relief that he understood. At that moment, Alba, with a grin, told the guy to use it on him. The warrior confidently clarified that he was talking about the guy's black magic. He assumed that this way, they would understand everything. Alba told the confused Leame that if his black magic really had an effect, he would sincerely apologize to him. Leame was silent in response. Leame remembered how someone had said that he would make the boy his disciple. However, he said that if he ever hears him whining, he won't teach him anymore. The boy then told Phoenix that he had not told anyone about his teacher. He asked him to keep it a secret. The boy asked not to tell anyone about it. Then his teacher asked him if Leame really craves power so much. At that moment, someone banged his fist on the table, calling out to Alba by name. He exclaimed the words that it was enough. Phoenix exclaimed with displeasure that he would not forgive the guy if he continued in the same spirit. Suddenly, someone interrupted them, saying that he understood everything. Leame looked rather gloomy and depressed. He said the words that he would leave in front of his team. Phoenix called out Leame's name in shock. Alba grinned contentedly. He said with a smile that it was excellent. He was glad that Leame had decided to do it after all. Alba looked at the guys, asking that now they understand that Leame is just a coward. Alba asked if they really should have a guy like that, where the team is ranked 4th in the world. He exclaimed so that they would not make him laugh. The warrior got up and, looking around the tavern, asked who he would replace their dark magician with. People started asking if this guy was really leaving. Leame sat and thought that this had happened many times before, and it all didn't start with Alba. It was all because the guy is a dark magician. Adventurers are both part of the aristocracy and the entertainment industry. If they are weak, they cannot raid the dungeons. However, if they are not attractive, people will also not look at them. People were watching and talking about how it would be better if this guy left. The audience, the adventurers, even their companions, will push them away. Leame lowered his eyes and thought that he was sure that what he had aspired to in the past was not a lifestyle where he was insulted and humiliated. The guy was thinking about what he should do if he couldn't change the situation with people or the debt given to him. He got up and walked away, which caused the Phoenix to call out to him. He asked the guy to wait. Leame replied gloomily to Phoenix, saying that everything was fine. He repeated his words again, which made the guy look at him in confusion. Leame thought that he had no choice but to change himself. The team at the table looked at him. Leame looked at them, saying that he wanted to surpass them with another group. Phoenix looked at his friend in surprise. Leame turned around and the words were shouted after him that there was not a single group that would take him in. Leame confidently walked on, thinking about Phoenix, with whom they had always been friends. The guy decided that from now on they would be rivals. There was a cough in the small street. Leame sat and thought that he still had the same old problems, but, as always, he needed to sort them out. The guy reflected that if he had explained everything to them, he might have been able to stay with them. Leame wondered what would happen if they knew what his true power really was. However, if he had done so, he would have exposed his teacher. Leame thought that this was not a teacher's room and not his dream. Phoenix kept the promise they made to each other as children. However, because of this, every time he covered for Leame, the guy felt guilty, because of this, their trust in him was shaken. Leame thought about how he had previously stated that he would join another group, but in reality, only heroes can create groups. The guy believed that he was just a dark magician who, for some unknown reason, had been in the Phoenix group all this time. He wondered who would want to recruit someone like him who had left the Phoenix group. Suddenly, Leame got scared because he heard someone screaming. The voice screamed the words that he didn't want anything like that. Someone said that this boy is very stubborn. The child apologized in confusion. The man behind the counter was talking about how they should apologize. A man who was passing by was asking about who would buy something like this at all. Leame looked at this child and realized that he was a half-breed. The man comforted the child by saying that he was sure that the man had already eaten somewhere else. In addition, the child will meet other customers at night. He said he just needed to try to do his best tomorrow. Suddenly, someone called out to them, apologizing. Leame awkwardly asked if they were still open. He said he was pretty hungry. The man was a little confused, talking about the guy passing. The child, wiping away tears, greeted the visitor. Leame sat down in front of the child and asked if he was helping at the store. He said it was wonderful. Leame asked if the child would recommend anything to him. The child silently looked at the fruit next to him. The guy asked if they might be suitable. Leame said that in this case he would take this fruit and then thanked him. Suddenly, the child awkwardly intervened. He said the one the guy took was a little ugly. The child said that despite this, it has a pure color, so she is sure that it is very tasty. The child sadly said that he was sorry that no one bought him because of this. That's why she tried so hard to convince people that it was delicious. However, everyone said they didn't want him. The girl sadly said that if the guy didn't want to eat it either, she would understand. At that moment, Leame quickly took a bite of the fruit. Leame looked at the fruit with a smile, saying that it was very tasty, just as the seller said. The child was very surprised by this, asking if the guy was telling the truth. Leame exclaimed that it was true. He said that the child looks not only at the exterior, but also at what is inside. Leame said that the child was really a great salesman. The guy sat down in front of the child and asked if he would mind if he came back to buy something else from him. Leame said that he would like the seller to give him all possible recommendations. The child looked at the guy in disbelief, after which his eyes filled with tears. He said he agreed, thanks to the guy. At that moment, the man exclaimed words about how relieved it was. He said that the child had a personal client. The man awkwardly thanked the guy. Leame replied that he should apologize. He apologized for disturbing them at such a late hour. Leame thanked the seller, after which he was slightly surprised. The child quickly hid behind the man, who replied with a laugh that she was just very embarrassed. The guy said the words that he would wait for their next meeting, after which he headed away. Suddenly, the girl awkwardly shouted something. She exclaimed in embarrassment that her name was Cashew. Leame pronounced the girl's name, after which he introduced himself. Cashew also called his name. She bowed awkwardly, thanking the guy for today. Leame looked a little confused. Cashew shouted the words that she would wait for his return. Whether it was tomorrow or later, the girl said that no matter how long it took, she would wait for Leame. The guy was a little surprised by this. Leame thought that even a man like him wants to be needed by someone. He thought he did it under the influence of the situation, however, he thought it was strange. Leame thought that he was not needed as a dark magician. He thought that even such a young girl was doing her best. For this reason, he decided that he also had to do his best. The guy silently looked at the sky and thought that it would be a long and exhausting battle. The teacher told the boy that if he did not reach the top, then no one would recognize his value. Leame was thinking of someone who needed him. He looked at the stars, being sure that they were out there somewhere. Meanwhile, a bright moon shone over the dark castle. The girl was sitting on the edge of the bed and silently looked at the screen, on which there was an image of the dark magician Leame. Leame frowned heavily and thought about how long this would last. The man disdainfully clarified whether the guy was a dark magician and then said that it was good. The girl awkwardly said that they needed warriors now. She suddenly asked if they had met before. The little girl next to him pointed at the guy, saying that this is really the guy who was expelled. The guy was happy, saying that they were looking for new people. However, he hesitated when he found out that the guy was a dark magician. Leame fell to the floor, thinking that this was a defeat. He recalled saying that he would surpass everyone, and that from that moment on they were his rivals. In a panic, Leame thought that even though he said so, he hadn't even found the band yet. Since Leame rejected the job that his parents found for him and became an adventurer, he cannot return home. Then the guy came to the conclusion that it was possible to use the competition search service provided by the division of the Adventurers Association. Even though it was expensive, the guy didn't care. He eventually came to this place. He was looking at the line where his race was described, human, and profession, dark magician. The guy looked at the line carefully, after which the search began. Leame became a little worried. At that moment, an inscription appeared stating that 0 matches had been found. This shocked Leame. The guy stood over the device and thought forlornly that it would be better to eat something now. Behind the counter, someone was saying that since the guy is a dark magician, he must be in trouble right now. Leame replied to the man that it didn't seem like people were shouting everywhere about the urgent recruitment of dark magicians. The man asked why the guy shouldn't watch something besides that. Leame awkwardly replied that it wasn't that he couldn't use something else, it was just that he had a predisposition to it. He also added words that the registration of adventurers basically allows only those jobs for which a person has a penchant. The man replied that he understood. Cashew enthusiastically said that she thinks dark magicians are very cool. The guy thanked the girl. He was glad to hear that. Leame suddenly said that they had got such a generous client. He thought that was the reason they had such a beautiful girl instead of a tired salesman. The man exclaimed that it was a lie. Leame looked at the girl with a smile, thinking that he was now a regular at this place. Cashew was only 8. She wasn't just helping, she was wholeheartedly trying to help her family with money, no matter how little it was, so it looks like she was allowed to work here. The guy thought that it looked like he was her very first customer, and Leame also wanted Cashew to continue to cheer him up, so now he appeared here quite often. It hadn't been long since Leame had met the shopkeeper, but he was worried about the guy. The man told the guy that, however, he understands everything perfectly. He also wanted to become a tailor. However, no matter how much a man trained, he couldn't compare to those who had a job. Leame thought about work. In their country, people learn about it in the temple when they turn 10 years old. They learn about the work they are approaching like a prophecy that comes down to them. Of the jobs related to adventurers, those who are rooted in life, such as cooks, merchants, and blacksmiths. No matter how much effort they put in or how much they want something, they have no choice. It is a gift given to them by the gods. The guy was thinking that if a person is given what he wants, it will certainly be a blessing from the gods. However, for those who did not receive it, it would be a test. For someone like Leame, who dreamed of becoming a hero, it was akin to despair. Cashew looked at the guy who was saying that it was because if their efforts really paid off, they would get this job. Suddenly, the girl greeted someone, which attracted the attention of the man and Lena, who looked in her direction. Cashew looked at the customer with a smile while a man and a guy were watching her closely. The guy asked about the fact that it looks like they can only keep doing what they can. The man answered in the affirmative. The man told the guy that even if he couldn't do anything, he didn't mind Leame working in this place with porridge. Leame laughed in response, thanking the man. Suddenly, I heard someone running. A scream rang out, which attracted Leame's attention. A man was running down the street, with a woman lying behind him. Leame assumed it was a thief. The man suddenly took out a knife and began waving it in different directions. Leame realized that he was running towards them. He turned to the man and asked him to get in the way of this man. The man asked in disbelief if Leame was going to do something. The guy answered in the affirmative, saying that it would only be support. He looked at the man seriously, saying that everything would be fine. The guy assured the man that he would not be hurt. The man went outside and got in the way of the man, shouting that he was coming. The man turned to the guy with the words that he should look after the porridge. Leame agreed. The guy seriously told the girl to hide, to which she agreed. Leame thought that magic is allowed if it is included in the framework of everyday life, but if a person overdo it, then he falls under surveillance. Leame was thinking about what he should do in this case. The thief shouted at the man that he really had a desire to die while swearing heavily. Leame watched the man closely, then used target capture, which surprised the thief. The people around were watching the situation with tension. Cashew hid behind the counter. Leame successfully made the capture. He mentally shouted that the time had come when the man rushed with a knife. At that moment, the thief froze in place in shock. He couldn't figure out what was going on. His body suddenly felt heavy. He didn't understand why he couldn't see anything. He also found it very difficult to breathe. Suddenly, the thief opened his eyes in shock when Cashew's father rushed at him with fists, who hit him in the face. The man quickly knocked the knife out of the thief's hands, after which he again struck him a powerful blow right in the face. People began to shout the words that justice had been served while the thief was lying on the ground. At that moment, Leame thought it was time. He began to shout loudly the words that the man had so easily defeated, that guy with the knife. Cashew peeked out from behind the counter. Leame suddenly called out the girl's name, which made her scream loudly. The guy quickly apologized, then whispered something in her ear. The woman thanked the man, to which he replied that there was nothing special about it. He said he was just doing what any citizen should do. Cashew called out loudly to the shopkeeper, shouting that he was so cool. The woman was surprised to ask if the man was really a shopkeeper. She pointed at the counter, telling him to sell her one of the fruits as a thank you. The shopkeeper happily thanked the woman. By this point, quite a lot of people had gathered who also wanted to buy something. They talked about the man being amazing. Leame looked at the crowd, thinking that it was such a relief. He thought that by forcing him to do something good, people would want to give him something in return, especially if he is the hero who stopped the criminal. The shopkeeper winked at Leame with a smile on his face. The guy noticed how the guys approached the thief, who helped him up because the man could not move. They supported the man because they had no choice. Although Leame used dark magic, in fact, it was not something he could easily do in front of a man with a knife. The guy thought that as an apology for the fact that the man hit the criminal instead of him, it would be nice if it could contribute to his store at least a little. Leame, being in the city, wondered that he had not lost his grip. Even after he left the band, he at least continued his studies. The guy was thinking that since this is the promise he originally made to his teacher, even after his job was determined, he couldn't give up on becoming a hero. For this reason, he desperately tried his best in front of his teacher. The dark magician thought with a gloomy expression that now that he remembers it, it seems to him that it was a special training, as if he was in hell. He was left in the mountains, alone with the animals. He was told to climb up himself after being pushed off a cliff. His teacher also beat him hard. Constantly practicing with dark magic cast on himself, Leame learned firsthand that when his physical abilities deteriorate, or when his eyesight begins to deteriorate, he even forced his body to memorize the exact adjustments. As long as he is not interrupted, Leame is never wrong about magic. Leame was thinking that he was also taking measures to ensure that none of the passers-by found out about his use of black magic, to make sure that no one knew that Leame was a dark magician who used to be in the group ranked 4th worldwide. He closed his eyes with the thought that most likely no one would notice anything, even if they didn't go that far. Suddenly, someone walked past Leame. The mysterious girl uttered the words that she was watching Leame. The guy rolled his eyes in shock, then turned towards the girl. She looked at the guy with a smile, calling him Leame, the dark magician. The girl looked at Leame with a smile, who was in disbelief, trying to figure out if she really had just noticed him. The stranger said that Leame was truly beautiful, and therefore she wants to say that in addition to the impeccable control of magic, she was also interested in Leame's ability to reduce and release several types of dark magic in just a few seconds. The girl firmly said that she was completely passionate about it. Leame smiled awkwardly, thinking that what he had been doing earlier had been fully revealed. He kept looking at her and trying to figure out who this woman was. The girl smiled slyly and was ready to tell who she was, which made Leame nervous. Suddenly, the stranger smiled broadly and blushed, saying that, to be honest, she is a big fan of Leame. The guy stared at her in a stupor, not believing these words. He thought that it might be a joke, and he would have believed it if there was someone like Phoenix there, but he did not expect to meet his fan. The girl bowed and said that she had never imagined that she would witness Mr. Leame's dark magic herself, so she accidentally slowed down while following him, so she almost lost sight of him. Leame suddenly noticed that the antenna of this girl is extremely similar to a bat. He assumed that she might be a vampire. The girl asked him if he really hated half-humans. Leame was a little confused, but quickly said that this was not the case, and he was just surprised. Suddenly, the girl grabbed his hands and exclaimed admiringly that his dark magic was truly wonderful. With burning eyes, the girl said that it might seem rude, but she had been looking for him since the moment he left the Phoenix group. She pressed his hand to her and said that she could not help anymore, but she believed that the Phoenix group had been very stupid in excluding the guy. Leame was confused at the time. He looked at her and thought that this girl was too close, and it made him very nervous. The guy blushed and mumbled awkwardly, trying to tell her that she was too close. Realizing her behavior, the girl jumped away from him and quickly began to apologize. She turned around and said that she had always dreamed of meeting a man like Mr. Leame, and therefore she accidentally allowed herself to do so. She was very upset and apologized to him again, sincerely asking him not to despise such a shameless person like her. Leame sighed, thinking that even up to this point he had always been harshly criticized, but for such a beautiful woman to say that she was his fan was unthinkable. Besides that, she also held his hand, and she smells very good. Leame tried to get rid of all these thoughts. He awkwardly told the girl that she could forget about it because it's not something he can hate her for. Leame said it all happened too suddenly and he didn't even ask her name. The girl was surprised, but quickly smiled and realized that he was a kind man. She looked at him and asked if he hadn't changed since then. Leame was confused and did not understand what she meant. He asked her if they had met before. Leame noted that she doesn't look like an adventurer. He also thought that apart from elves, there are practically no demi-humans among the adventurers, and even more so if she is a vampire. He kept looking at her and wondering where he could have seen her before. The girl said that he should not pay attention to it. She said with a smile that her name was Mila. After that, she hesitated awkwardly and said that if he didn't mind, she would like to treat him to tea. She said that she knows that this fall is unexpected, but the number 4 adventurer in the world is not a small thing, and perhaps she will no longer have such an opportunity. Without even giving the guy a chance to answer, she said that as long as he agreed, she could already choose a place. The guy was confused, looking at Mila. He was trying to figure out what he should do. Seeing this, Mila looked at him with the most unhappy eyes and asked if he was against it. The guy froze for a moment, after which he said that everything was completely wrong. He thought that everything was fine, and then went with her. Leame wondered suspiciously if there was at least one person who could refuse such a thing. He was thinking about the girl who asked if the guy was against it. The guy looked at Mila and thought that the girl really stood out. He decided that this was not surprising, because she was very beautiful. He looked at Mila and thought that she was on a completely different level, comparing her to a simpleton like him. Mila said their conversation would take a different direction. She said she didn't have a chance to say it. The girl said that Leame is an excellent black magician. The guy tried to wave it off, but the girl looked at him carefully and told him not to be modest. There were only 3 dark magicians in the top 100 groups in the world, and Leame was in the top 10. Of course, in the whole field of adventurers, the dark magician differs in that he is not so colorful and likes to show himself in public. However, the only reason the Phoenix group had reached such heights was Leame, Mila thought. She said that this could not be achieved by ordinary dark magic. The girl said that moreover, his ability to control magic is explained by the fact that the guy personally knows every little detail about the effects of his dark magic. Leame was greatly impressed by the girl's words. He listened to her in silence. Mila said the guy must have put in incredible efforts that are unimaginable to ordinary people. Alba talked about the fact that the guy is, after all, a burden. Lily didn't care if he was with them or not. She'd rather choose firepower instead of support. Leame said the words that he was hearing such words for the first time since he became an adventurer. The guy thought that even though the girl said she was his fan, he was wondering if she could know so much about him just by being like that. Suddenly, the girl spoke. Mila said that, first of all, even the Phoenix hero's ability to kill the floor boss with one blow was just a credit to Leame, who weakened all the enemies. She couldn't understand what they were thinking given such a high rank of a dark magician. She thought that people were really stupid. Leame awkwardly called out to Mila, which caused the girl to apologize in a panic. She replied that it was something her friend had once said, after which she laughed nervously. The guy repeated the words about his girlfriend in confusion. He asked the girl if she could express her gratitude when she met. Leame said it was nice to have someone who could support her. Mila turned around, saying that she would definitely do so. She added that the guy could tell her himself, which led the guy to be perplexed. The girl apologized for the wait. She informed me that they had come. Leame was very surprised, because in front of him was the castle of the Demon Lord. Mila said she sincerely apologized if it scared Leame. The guy turned to Mila, asking who she was. The girl took off her hat, saying that they had long known about his true power. However, when she saw it firsthand, she was completely convinced. Mila addressed Leame with the words that he is a man who deserves worthy respect and reverence. She looked at the guy carefully and asked him to share his power with them at all costs. In the castle of the Demon Lord, Mila addressed the lady on the throne, saying that she had brought Mr. Leame to her. The lady remained silent and then greeted the girl, calling her Camila. This surprised the guy a lot because he remembered that name. Camille was the boss of the 3rd floor of the Demon Lord's castle. Her attacks look like she's sucking enemies' blood through bats, but she's actually controlled by magic to attack. She is cruel and cannot resist the torture of people. That's her character. However, she doesn't look like Mila at all. The guy looked at the throne, from where he asked if he was a Leame. The guy confusedly replied in the affirmative, saying that he was a dark magician, Leame. It was the Demon Lord's castle, a dungeon with 10 floors. You won't see the Demon Lord there until you've passed them all. So far, no one has done this yet. Thus, Leame assumed that he was the first person to see the current Demon Lord firsthand. She replied that she understood. The guy was thinking that if she was a Demon Lord, then why was her voice so childish? The man on the throne said that he was the ruler of this castle of the Demon Lord. The girl introduced herself as Lucy, the Demon Lord. The guy was in a stupor. Lucy asked if there was something wrong with her. Leame replied that she looked much younger than he had imagined. Lucy looked at the guy gloomily, asking if he really wanted to say that she was not a Demon Lord. The guy was shocked. He replied that for those who had never seen her. However, it's not for him to talk about it. Vladika looked at the guy thoughtfully. She said that if he was a typical boor, she would kick him out right now. However, the girl found something in him. Lucy said there would be enough introductions so they could get down to business. The Lord pointed at the guy, saying that she was appointing the dark magician Leame as one of the commanders of her castle's army. This statement greatly shocked the guy. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Leame wondered if it was okay to make him number 2 in the Demon Lord's army. The guy also didn't know if this role was suitable for a person. Lucy looked at the magician questioningly, after which she said that he made a face as if he had heard about it for the first time. Vladika turned to Camila, asking if the girl had told them everything. Camila offered her sincere apologies. The girl thought that bringing a guy would be better than explaining. Lucy was shocked by this. She asked the guy with displeasure that he really went after the girl without knowing anything. She swore at the guy. Vladika began to ask the guy what he was thinking at all when the girl introduced herself as his fan. She assumed that he had personal motives that he was thinking about. Leame was very confused. He asked her what she meant. Camila turned to Vladika, and the guy said that he had not thought about such a thing. Lucy punched hard, asking if Leame really didn't want to touch Camille. She asked if the guy was sane. The Demon Lord began to scream about Camille's chest, when suddenly the girl turned to the girl. Camille gave Lucy an intimidating smile, which silenced her in fear. The girl cleared her throat. She said they were off topic. Leame thought confusedly that she had started it herself. Lucy told me that Camille wants Leame to become one of their commanders. Leame asked in surprise if she was talking about Mill. The girl answered in the affirmative. She silently looked at the guy, and then said that if she hadn't looked at the guy carefully then, she would have noticed. Lucy turned to the dark magician Leame with a question about which Demon Lord trained him. The guy was shocked by the question about the Demon Lord. He immediately thought of his master. Lucy said there was no way he could have achieved such abilities. Right now, Leame was on the same level as a dark magician who had been training for 100 years, maybe more. She said that although the guy hides well, she sees that his abilities are superior to human ones. Vladika looked at the guy carefully and told him to answer her question. The guy stood silently. Lucy closed her eyes and said that if he didn't want to talk, then she understood. She said it was all right. Dark magic was originally a degenerate spell called the Dark Arts. Although once upon a time the Demon Lord plunged humanity into the abyss of horror, for a long time he was different from the hero, ally of humans, and it was even designated by countries as a separate degree of danger. Lucy said that, first of all, if he was discovered, it would cause him trouble. She asked if Leame is a diligent student who thinks about his master. Leame apologized, to which the girl replied that he should not take it into his head. Vladika said that he would ask something first. She asked how he had the same color of hair, eyes, and horn as her. She was silent for a while and then said that she still felt that the guy did not know the answer to this question. Lucy said she was ruling the castle now anyway, like a demon lord. She asked what the guy thought about the grandfather who left his granddaughter and retired himself. Leame was shocked by what he heard. He thought it couldn't be. Lucy was the granddaughter of his master. The girl cursed and said that her grandfather and that man had both given up the throne of the Demon Lord. She asked why they didn't understand the advantages of the Demon Lord. The girl said the words that it was unfortunate, or to put it another way, she was very lucky. She could not have imagined that she would find a relative in such a place. The guy looked at Lucy and thought that she was saying that his master was her grandfather. Vladika said that to think that there is at least one living person who was taught by her grandfather. She turned to Camille and said that the girl was not mistaken because this guy was worth it. The girl replied that she did not expect him to be like that either. Leame was thinking about learning. He assumed that the girl was talking about his master's training. Lucy said that a couple of minutes ago she was planning to test Leame, but now it's not necessary. She turned to the guy, saying that as the commander, he would help the castle of the Demon Lord achieve greatness. The guy awkwardly asked to wait a minute. Leame thought he had gone too far. To think that a former adventurer has joined the side that is fighting against the hero. Leame was suddenly called by name. Camille said she wouldn't force him, however, she would be happy to work with him. Leame turned to Mill. The girl asked if she could ask something. She asked the guy why he decided to become an adventurer. She said that knowing that he is a dark magician, the decision he has chosen seems very difficult. The guy slowly replied that it was because he wanted to become a hero. All Leame wanted was to be a hero. Leame apologized, because of all the possible options, they heard this one. Lucy replied that he should just score. Camille asked if all human children have a similar dream. Leame was asked why he wanted this particular thing. The question caught the guy off guard. He thought about it. Isn't it obvious that it's beautiful? The girl assumed that the guy wanted to look heroic, defeating monsters on the other side of the screen. Leame thought that he wanted to personally fight monsters. The guy would have demonstrated brilliant swordsmanship and spells of ice or flame. Camila asked about fame and admiration. Leame thought that when he walked down the street, anyone who saw him would start praising the boy for his efforts. He would have had protracted battles in the dungeons that would have forced him to give his all. And the guy's life would be great. That was Leame's childhood dream, an ideal future in which there is nothing wrong. The guy was asked what he thought of the hero. Leame didn't understand the question right away, so he asked again. Camille talked about Leame being an excellent dark magician, but that's not the only reason the girl respects him. Even when Leame is worried, he still helps people without asking for anything in return, and he is even so kind that he concedes all the honors to them. Camille said he was acting in the name of justice, not glory. Such a person should have been called a hero from the very beginning. Leame listened attentively to the girl in front of him. The girl said that a person's profession simply indicates their abilities, but it does not define the person himself. This also applies to the hero. The girl asked the guy if he really wants to become a hero now. She asked if this was possible only by being an adventurer. Those who attack the dungeons are adventurers, and those who defend against them are monsters. Monsters were originally just a role that the demi-humans have now assumed. All adventurers are mostly human, with the exception of some elves and the like. Without a doubt, Leame wanted to become a hero, but he never thought of becoming a monster. The guy asked if something would change if he became a monster. Camilla replied that monsters, unlike adventurers, always hide their essence. Most likely, there will be no special glory for Leame, and the guy will be far from the hero he dreamed of. Camilla did not know his circumstances, but she could tell that the guy was not going to reveal his abilities to the fullest. However, by becoming a monster and hiding his essence, Leame will be able to manifest everything for his own pleasure. The girl said that no one in this castle would feel worried about them. Leame was very confused. He asked if a dark magician like him could become a monster in the army of the Demon Lord. Camilla said that, of course, it will be different from what everyone has seen before, because the effects of dark magic are not fully understood by the audience. She said that after all, every monster that fought the guy knows this. His existence leads to their defeat. The power of Leame's dark magic finds the threat he poses to his enemies. The girl said that if he became their ally, he would be the most outstanding and powerful being in the world. Just as people are worried about the actions of adventurers, so half-humans need someone who will become their symbol. Camille said that for her too, it might be different from his desire to become a hero, but she never wanted to become a monster that was hunted like prey. Defeating the heroes and scaring them away in the castle of the Demon Lord, in a place so difficult. By doing so, they could become the very ray of hope for half-breeds who do not dare to become monsters. They could become the ones who are able to compete with the adventurers. It's like Leame who wanted to be a hero. Camille asked if she could say something. The girl said that monsters and adventurers are equal. If someone is different, a raid on the dungeon is impossible. In addition, the audience admires the very existence of such strong monsters. The girl never looked at people as prey. She lowered her head, agreeing with herself. She said that because the guy is like that, she wanted to at least try to contact him, because Leame is really kind and strong. Camille asked the guy if he would become their hero. Leame was silent for a while, after which he confidently exclaimed in response that he would become their hero. At that moment, Lucy intervened. She said that since they had come to a common agreement, they would try again. The demon lord Lucy turned to the dark magician Leame, who stood in front of her. The girl appointed the guy as one of the commanders of the army of her castle. On that day, Leame was reaccepted, after being excluded from the heroes group, which ranks 4th in the world. The guy's new place of work is now the castle of the demon lord. His new position is the commander of the army, and his profession is a dark magician. Leame thought that his goal now was to become a hero, leading monsters. He decided to do it, even if he had to fight with his friends. By that time, the Phoenix group had gathered for a raid. The guy asked the team if they were ready to go. Leame was confident in himself. He no longer had doubts. Suddenly, Leame turned around and his gaze fell on the large chairs in front of him. He asked in surprise what it was. Lucy snapped her fingers and apologized with a smile, saying that she had forgotten to show something. She said that she would introduce the 4 generals of the Demon Lord's castle to the guy. One of them was Arielis, and the other was Forecast. Leame repeated the words about the 4 generals, after which he assumed that Camila was one too. He suddenly asked if they had been here from the very beginning. Lucy asked Leame if he was nervous when there were so many people around. She said that another one did not come because he is helping them now as an ally outside. The Demon Lord suggested with a smile that it would be a piece of cake for the guy. Leame thought he was a dark magician too. The guy was thinking that now the Demon Lord is just a profession. Only demons can become them, which means that they are also assigned demons. Even if warriors and mages have the same skills, only those with charisma will be noticed by society. So, this is an analogy with the heroes of mankind. Leame understood why dark magic was being treated this way now. Lucy said it was time to talk about the guy's responsibilities now. She appointed Mila as his secretary for the first time. Leame was very surprised, asking if Mila was not one of the 4 generals. He didn't know if she could be made his secretary. Lucy believed that the guy understood that the commander reports directly to the Demon Lord. She asked if the guy knew that he was taller than the general. Leame looked in shock at Arielis, who was sitting in silence. She told the guy not to worry. Lucy exclaimed so that Leame wouldn't worry. She said she was confident that he would become the best floor boss in the world because the 4th rank in the world couldn't lose. Leame was shocked to think that he was also worried about the bad attitude towards him. At that moment, someone's footsteps were heard. Arielis approached the guy and bowed slightly, apologizing for such a late acquaintance. The general offered his sincere congratulations to Leame on his appointment to a new position. He introduced himself as one of the 4 generals of the Demon Lord's castle, the time demon Arielis. Leame awkwardly replied that he was glad to see them. The demon replied that he was also glad. He hoped for their cooperation. Camila asked with a bored look that Arielis was really here. She said she didn't even notice it. The demon replied that he wasn't using dark magic right now. The girl said that she was ready to swear that the demon was now doubtful about Mr. Leame's strength. Arielis replied that unlike her, he did not have direct communication with the commander, who was also a dark magician. The general said that the skills of ordinary dark magicians, if it is weakening, then only a few %, if it is a physical lesson, but only a little, skills that affect awareness will have a low chance of success, and if they are successful, they will not be able to last forever. Arielis said that even if the curses worked, really strong people would still be able to defeat them alone. For this reason, it is logical to suspect that they lied in the reports. He added that the reports of the others also said that their new commander was an order of magnitude higher than the rest of the dark magicians. The demon said that Camille was crazy about him from the moment he attacked their castle. The girl tried to answer that maybe he was right, but the guy interrupted her. Leame asked if it was true. Camila replied that simply revealing the girl's personal information, as if it were the way it should be, was a very vile act. Lucy apologized to the girl, saying that she had told him everything. At that moment, Mila turned to the Demon Lord with a gloomy face, who shouted in fear that she had already apologized. Arielis said with displeasure that he didn't care. Since the Demon Lord had accepted him, he had no choice but to agree with her. But still, the demon asked what gave the girl the right to address the Demon Lord like that. Leame thought about what his appearance meant to everyone. Moreover, being excluded from the heroes group, he immediately became their commander. However, they still politely addressed him. Leame thought that even though the demon was younger, he looked like a good person who respected the Demon Lord. Arielis said that the Demon Lord might be angry at them. It's natural, but not the other way around. The guy suddenly thought about it. It seemed to him that the demon had said something strange. Camila told Arielis to shut up, calling him a demon who loves small children. She told him to do his best to avoid the eyes of the law enforcement officers, because his arrest would bring too many problems. The general replied by saying that it was all nonsense, saying that he was just a child defender. She said that children's lives were above all else and he would never touch them. He confidently said that this was his defender's loyalty, so he would prefer that they did not compare him to bad people who want to tarnish these sweet angels with their desires. Camila asked what he meant by defenders, because he says it all the time when he is scolded, humiliated, and angry. Camille turned to the demon lord, telling her to be careful with him. She said that if the demon asked her to touch him in strange places, she should refuse him. Lucy exclaimed in response to the girl not to talk nonsense, because she would never have answered such a criminal request. Lucy silently looked at the demon, who shouted to the demon lord. He asked her to stop looking at him so contemptuously. Arielis dramatically talked about how, if possible, he would just like her to just watch him more closely. Camille asked him what it meant that he did not agree that he should be arrested. Leame mumbled something awkwardly. Mila turned to the guy, saying that their monsters are not such terrible creatures like him, so he shouldn't worry. She said she was also a devoted fan of his. Camille said that she just pasted his photo all over her room, collected all his candid photos that she found online. The girl also sent messages telling them to show Mr. Leame more, calling the editors incompetent. That's all she did. She was called not a fan, but a stalker. While Camila and Arielis were arguing, Leame was trying to get their attention. Due to the fact that he was not heard, the guy had to shout louder. He spoke with a peaceful expression that he had not yet been told about his duties, so he wanted to ask the demon lord about them. He asked if he could do it. The girl apologized awkwardly to Leame. Arielis also offered his sincere apologies to the commander. Lucy said with a laugh that their boyfriend was just something, as expected from the commander. Lucy looked at the guy, calling him Lemegeton. From this, Leame froze with a puzzled expression on his face. He repeated the name questioningly. The demon lord said the words that she had been thinking about it lately. Camille said that their lord gives all the new ones new names for the dungeon. The guy asked if his Lemegeton was really his now. Lucy replied enthusiastically that it sounded extremely good. She said that with that name, the guy would now lead the monsters into battle. Vladika was sure that the others would also agree with her. Leame thanked the girl, repeating the name in his mind. When dungeon raids became a form of entertainment, many systems were developed to keep everyone involved alive. And, of course, there are rules for all laws. The name in the dungeons, stones for recording raids, registration cards, mana bodies, the possibility of return. It is logical that the heroes group will be on the side of the light. Meanwhile, all the monsters will be on the side of darkness and will be destroyed. Although these are presets, some people still perceive the actions inside as reality. In order for the demi-humans acting on the side of the monsters not to be identified, they began to use special outfits and use other names called dungeon names. People are very offended when a hero's group is forced to retreat or is defeated, but this is their true nature, to desire the victory of heroes. For example, the day after someone's favorite adventurer loses to an orc, that person can go beat up an innocent orc, and if such things happen, then everyone is in danger. All the demon lords gathered in the castle sat at a large table and silently looked at each other. Forecast sat silently and did not even move. Leame tried to start a conversation with him with a smile, but there was no response. This attracted the attention of the girl next to him. Camila looked closely at the general of the demon lord and assumed that it looked like their child had fallen asleep. She told the guy not to pay attention to him. Leame was very surprised by this. He looked at Forecast, thinking that he had just been called a child. The guy looked around and thought that one general was asleep, the other was not there at all. Leame thought that they were clearly not like those he had imagined. Camila looked at the guy with a smile on her face, saying that in short, it is so. She asked the guy if he had any questions. Leame thoughtfully uttered the words that he would repeat everything again. Firstly, his name in the dungeon is Lemegeton, and secondly, his mana body should not reveal his identity. Lucy began to say with displeasure that, to be honest, she was also worried about a slight coincidence with his name, but then she liked the name, so she has no doubts. Leame thought that since she said that, he didn't have much choice. Camila was slightly embarrassed and her face turned a little red. She started talking about the next day. She asked if it would be bad if the guy had a mask. Lucy replied that without her, the guy would be recognized. Mila called out to Vladika. Lucy replied with a little fear on her face that it was true, it all depends on who is going to look at him. She asked if the girl really thought she was joking. Arielis frowned heavily and suddenly began to swear, saying that this was the second time. He said that they should be happy to serve the demon lord and not contradict her as the girl is doing now. Leame very awkwardly suggested that the general help him decide on an avatar. You could lighten a guy's skin and change his hairstyle, but you can't change yourself beyond recognition. However, if you add horns, then in general you cannot recognize a person. There have been cases where demi-humans have removed their distinctive features. Leame remembered that Lily had asked Alba about it. Elves do not differ much in appearance from humans, but they are quite beautiful. For this reason, they have become popular in just the last few years. The number of elf adventurers grew and grew every year. However, viewers want to see people fighting. Alba focused on this. Leame thought with a little sadness in his eyes that he and Phoenix had sided with Lily. However, then the girl said that, in truth, his effects of dark magic are not always noticeable. In addition, their style is to go straight ahead, crushing the enemy by force. Lily said she would rather have more strength than support. Lily then quickly looked away from the guy. Leame was silently thinking about the past with a thoughtful expression on his face. Camille noticed this, so she asked if something was bothering Leame. The guy awkwardly replied in the negative. Lucy was watching them all the time. Lucy suddenly started talking about Lame's job as commander. The guy listened to the girl and thought about what the commander was doing at all. Lucy threw something to the guy, saying that she was giving it to him. Leame deftly caught the flying object and asked what it was. He opened his hand and looked at the palm in which there was a small ring. He couldn't figure out what kind of ring it was. He assumed it was an animal bone, but quickly dismissed the idea. While Leame was looking at the object in his hand with a confused expression, the Demon Lord said that the ring allows him to summon anyone with whom he has signed a contract. The guy realized that it was a magical weapon. Magical tools are things with incredible magical powers that were created by a now extinct species. One of these weapons is Alba's sword. Leame was sure that he got it from his father. Lucy was talking intelligently about how if his mana, and the mana of the one he wants to sign a contract with both flow into the ring, then they will only have to say a verbal oath, and the contract is concluded. She said the ring is a simplified summoning item. Leame was still confused and asked if summoning was not an acquired ability. The girl confirmed his words, saying that she would be able to accept only 72 participants. She told the guy to remember it and not forget it. It wasn't that much. Lucy said that the guy would use it to summon monsters to get rid of the adventurers. The Demon Lord said that with such use, Leame would be able to use dark magic to the fullest. The guy agreed with her. There are also quite a large number of dark magicians among the monsters, and Leame had never heard of adventurers changing professions. In this case, the guy will be able to expand the scope of his combat tactics and win over more people to his side. The guy thought that he could become a small guiding light for many species. Lucy clarified about Leame's ring. The master said that she would temporarily limit his goals for the contract to her subordinates. She said it didn't matter how great the strategy was or how great the general was. If he does not build relationships with others, then there is no price for such an agreement. The guy just looked at the girl in front of him in surprise. The Demon Lord looked at the guy with a smirk, saying that his first task was to get closer to everyone. The guy turned to Lucy, saying that she should not worry, because he was not going to start a war with anyone so suddenly. Leame looked at the ring, thinking that magic weapons are very valuable now, even if he was appointed their commander, but she gave the guy such a thing because he is her grandfather's disciple. Lucy said she was counting on the commander. Leame thanked Vladica, saying that he would take care of him. Lucy said she thought it would be better for them to meet a little later because the guy seemed tired of all this chatter and a lot of information. Leame replied that it was not, thanks again to the Demon Lord. Suddenly Lucy said that everyone had listened to her. She said she was going to have a welcome party. For this reason, she called Arielis, who immediately responded. The general said the words about the girl entrusting him with this case. He said he would reserve a table along with all her favorite sweets, and when the moment comes, he will unexpectedly be honored to sit next to the Demon Lord. The girl exclaimed in refusal. Arielis sighed, and Lucy replied that she didn't even want to know what he wanted to do with her afterwards. The general exclaimed that he would never do that to her. He lowered his head, talking about the incredulous look that was directed at him, her faithful follower. Arielis covered his reddened face, calling out to the Demon Lord. He suddenly began to thank the girl loudly. Everyone was in shock, but Forcas continued to sleep. After a while, Camille called out to Leame, who told her that she would accompany the guy outside. They moved on. The girl said that the registration card will be sent to the guy one of these days. They apologized for that. The guy replied that everything was fine. Camila said that, moreover, today the guy had to watch the part of the girl that she was ashamed of. Leame replied that he had never been praised as much as he was today. The guy was really very happy. He said that, besides, thanks to the girl, he was able to remember a lot. For example, why Leame wanted to become a hero. He said he'd forget about it soon anyway, so she shouldn't worry. Camila replied that if she wasn't disgusting to the guy, then she was glad to hear it. She thought about how she didn't think the guy was that weird. Camille turned to Leame, saying that the guy was very kind. The guy was a little confused by this. The girl, stuttering slightly, asked Leame how far he would let her go. Lem asked, confused, what the girl meant. Camilla also tried to explain herself in front of the guy in confusion. The girl blushed deeply. She closed her eyes and shouted the question of whether she could be the first for the guy. Lem asked Milla to wait because he couldn't understand what she was talking about. The girl awkwardly shouted that it was nothing. She told the guy to forget what she said. She apologized to him very much. She tried to calm down, so she mentioned the ring. Lem took it out and looked at it. The girl said that it actually records the order. The guy was very surprised. Camille said that, for example, if Lem signs a contract with her, she will be number 1. She said that she would be his very first monster in the same way. The guy finally understood what the girl meant. Camille, with a red face, said that she was a real fan of Leame. She was the one who suggested inviting him to the Demon Lord's castle. And also, she showed him a lot today. She said with great embarrassment that she had been appointed the guy's personal secretary for the first time, and she sat next to him while the duties were explained to him. The guy mumbled something unintelligible in response. He watched as the girl continued to stutter. Lem thought that he knew how strong Milla was. Maybe she had a strange approach to things, but she was kind. The guy thought that they had only met today, but he knew how much courage she needed to take such a step. The guy thought about the girl, and then suddenly put his hands on her shoulders, loudly calling her name. Lem replied that he hoped so too. He asked Milla if she wanted to be the first monster to sign a contract with him. The girl looked at the guy and asked if he was sure. Lem quickly took his hands off the girl, apologizing at the same time. Camille apologized to the guy, saying that she brought him to this place and told him about the contract. She was also prepared to be rejected. For this reason, she, greatly embarrassed and blushing, asked the guy if she could provide him with some personal services. She suddenly waved her arms, shouting that this was not what he thought. She asked him to forget about it. Lem thought that if the girl was a vampire, then maybe she meant blood. He'd heard that vampire instincts could get the better of the rest. However, he couldn't understand why she was acting like this right now. The girl continued to shout the words so that the guy would forget what she said. Confused, Leame began to talk about the arrangement and then about the contract. He asked if everything was okay. The girl replied in the affirmative. She asked if the guy was sure, because being the first for someone is always very important. Lem replied that he wanted to ask the girl about it in the first place anyway. He said that's exactly what it is. Camille fell silent. Lem said that if he was not mistaken, his mana and the mana of the one with whom he wants to sign a contract will flow into the ring at the same time, then they will only have to say a verbal oath and the contract is concluded. Camille asked the guy to give her his hand. The girl carefully put the ring on the guy's finger. Her mood was quite serious, while the guy was slightly inspired. Camilla put a ring on the guy's finger. She said that she accepts Mr. Leame's offer, and hereby swears, no matter where and what happens, she will always come to him, wherever he is. After that, the girl gently kissed the ring on the guy's hand, which greatly confused Leame. He tried to ask what Milla was doing, however, he suddenly noticed something. Lem realized that Camille had become his very first contractor. The girl touched her lips after the kiss and laughed a little. She said with embarrassment on her face that she had pampered herself by becoming the first at Mr. Leame's. Camille said with a smile that as soon as the guy calls her, she will definitely come wherever Lem wants. The guy confusedly asked the girl not to say a lot of ambiguities. Milla looked at Leame questioningly, saying that with his amount of mana, it shouldn't be a problem. Leame was silent at first, and then blushed deeply. The girl laughed and said she was just joking. She apologized to the guy and said it must be disgusting to hear a girl trying to woo him. Camille said the guy didn't even know her. Lem replied that this was not true. He tried to justify himself, but hesitated. The girl repeated his words, but the guy fell silent. With a red face, he told Milla to forget. The girl asked Leame if he thought it was too early for them to meet at night in his room, after which she said again that she was joking. Camille approached Leame, calling his name. The guy asked, confused, what she wanted. The girl said that she hoped that from now on he would take good care of her. As someone who is in the castle of the Demon Lord, as a secretary, and as a contractor. They shook hands, and Lem awkwardly replied that he hoped for the girl too. He hoped she would treat him just as well. The girl only mumbled something in response. She said Lem could just call her Milla, however, she asked to be called Camila while working. Lem agreed with an awkward smile on his face. Camille approached him and whispered in his ear the words that if he had called her, the girl would not have had to enter his room in the middle of the night. Camille quickly left, leaving the surprised guy behind. Leame called out to Mila in shock. The guy thought that he shouldn't misunderstand this. Although the girl is his fan, they just signed a contract, and now they are partners, nothing more. Camila left with great embarrassment, thinking that this was all. Leame thought that now his profession was army commander. First, he had to get close to everyone and sign contracts. Although there were many different personalities in this place, it didn't change anything. Leame needed to give his best, take it seriously. Like Mila, he believed that there were people who looked at him. That's how his days as a commander began. The day after his appointment as army commander, Leame thought that perhaps he should visit Cashew. Today is his first day of work on the side of the Demon Lord. The guy was thinking that Vladika had said that his first task was to get closer to everyone. Leame walked down the street and thought that even if it was an order, how could he carry it out? He couldn't understand it. The Dark Magician was determined because his choice had already been made. He thought he would become a hero to the monsters. He was not appreciated in the last group. He suggested that maybe in the castle he would be appreciated. Leame saw the shopkeeper Blitz, whom he immediately greeted. The man replied with a smile that the guy comes to this place already as to his home. The guy wished good morning to Cashew, who greeted the young guy with a smile in response. Blitz thanked Leame for helping him yesterday. He said that dark magicians are really amazing. The guy replied that the man should speak for himself better, because he was also good. The shopkeeper was slightly embarrassed while the guy was trying to say something. Leame said that if possible, he preferred that they not talk about him to outsiders. Blitz assumed that Leame had already made his choice, because he left all the honors to the man, and he quietly left. He replied that, of course, he would not tell anyone anything. The man turned to Cashew, saying that this also concerns her. He asked if the girl understood. Cashew closed her eyes and shouted the words that her boss had dealt with the bad guy. The girl said that Mr. Leame did not participate. The guy thanked the girl with a smile. Leame also thanked Blitz for his support. The man refused, saying that they should thank the guy. After all, after that incident, they were able to sell all the goods. He handed the guy a small bag with the words that it was a part of him. Blitz asked if it was really not natural to express gratitude after helping. Leame began to awkwardly refuse, saying that he could accept it. The man still gave the bag to the guy, for which he thanked him. Cashew watched everything that was happening and was very surprised that gratitude was natural. The girl began to look for something in a panic, which attracted the attention of the guys, who called out her name. Cashew handed something to Leame. She sincerely asked the guy to accept her gratitude. Leame ducked down and before he forgot, told the girl that he got a new job, so he asked Cashew to give him some more because he wanted to treat them. The girl agreed with a smile. Blitz asked the guy about his new job. The guy confirmed his words. The man replied that it was wonderful. He asked which group Leame had joined. The man said he would add them to his list and watch them every time. Leame was thinking that he didn't have access to the dungeons. Even if he wanted to, the guy didn't know if he could tell them. He was still looking for companions, and also changed the team from adventurers to monsters. Leame didn't know if he was really happy about it. He replied to the man that he did not need to do this, because he was there temporarily anyway. Blitz replied that he understood. Suddenly, Leame called out to Cashew, who wanted to say something. Cashew awkwardly lowered her gaze, holding a bag of fruits in her hands. She sadly said that she had collected them, but they didn't look very good. Leame smiled and said that everything was fine, and what was inside was much more important than what was outside. After that, he added that the girl's fruits are very tasty, and you shouldn't worry. Suddenly, someone turned to Leame and asked if the guy was okay with this man carrying his bags. Leame immediately turned around and asked in disbelief what it meant. He saw Mila in front of him. The guy was a little confused about this. The girl slowly approached him. She covered her mouth with her hand and asked in amazement if Leame was the same as Arielis. An image of a demon immediately appeared in her head, which said that she and the commander were kindred spirits. Leame quickly exclaimed that this was not the case, after which he asked the girl not to mislead people. Mila quickly reported that she was just joking, after which she stated that something else was more important. She sat on her knees and smilingly addressed Cashew as a little fruit seller. The girl shyly returned the greeting, after which her gaze fell on the girl's rather large breasts. Cashew was very worried. She put her hands on her chest and said that she was not small and would grow up very soon. Looking at this, Leame wondered if she was talking about weight. Mila said that it might sound a little rude, but she really wants to tell her something. The girl asked Cashew with a smile if she wanted to go work with them. After a while, there was a startled question on the street about whether they really wanted to make the girl Leame's personal secretary. Mila said she wanted Cashew to become Mr. Leame's personal secretary. The girl was surprised and asked if this meant that she would receive a good salary. Blitz happily asked his daughter if this was wonderful news. With a smile, the man said that, nevertheless, it's not bad for Leame to have such a wonderful friend. Mila smiled and said that Mr. Leame helped her once, and since then they have been communicating with him. Blitz shook his head understandingly, and Mila laughed. Leame was somewhat perplexed, however, he quickly thought that she must be talking about the guy joining the army of the Demon Lord. Blitz said that considering that Mila is Leame's friend, it means that he can trust her, but he does not know at all how true her words will be. Mila said that she could believe them, but it's still only Cashew's choice, and it's up to her. The girl was interested to see what she would do, because apart from them and her family, she does not communicate with anyone. If everything is in order, then she can talk about the details with her family. The girl was at a loss and asked why she was chosen. Mila looked at her, then apologized and told her that yesterday she had listened to their conversation with Mr. Leame. The guy quickly realized exactly what Mila had heard. The girl told Cashew that, in any case, if she worked with them, it would be easier for her to share this burden with her mother than now. Mila also said that more importantly, Mr. Leame's new job is very stressful and it will be easier for him to do it when such a wonderful secretary is around. Cashew was extremely inspired by this idea. Blitz said with a smile that since she would be with Leame all the time, he wouldn't have to worry about her. Meanwhile, the girl was quietly repeating Leame's name. Suddenly, she gained strength and loudly exclaimed that if she became his secretary, did it mean that she would create problems. Leame was extremely surprised by the girl's words. He immediately said that everything was wrong, and he was just glad to be with Cashew. He said that it sounded funny, that she could cause him problems. Leame said that he could have worked more productively with the secretary. However, he didn't know if it was okay to bring a little girl to the Demon Lord's castle. Since they tell her that she will be a secretary, it means that she does not need protection and she will do only paperwork. Suddenly, there was silence. Leame and Mila looked at each other quietly, after which the guy turned to Cashew and said that she should not force herself. The girl exclaimed that everything was wrong and she would do it, because she really wanted to help him. Cashew said she wanted to become Leame's secretary. After that, she turned to the boss and asked if he agreed. Blitz said that he agrees in the field and the girl can start right now, because he will always support her in this. The man patted Leame on the shoulder and said that she was now under his care. The guy awkwardly agreed, and Mila smiled and said that they had decided everything, and that meant it was time to move on. Blitz called Cashew and Leame, after which he began to pick fruits, saying that it was a gift to celebrate their new job. He collected 2 baskets of fruits. Leame sincerely thanked the man. Mila was surprised and said that she would tell her subordinate and he would come to the man and pick them up later. Blitz also said that, if so, he could keep an eye on Leame's package. Mila said she agreed, after which she stated that they would go and greet the girl's mother. They walked through the crowded streets and reached a woman whom Cashew hugged tightly. Leame watched in silence as Mila explained everything to the girl's mother. Cashew's mother runs a second-hand clothing store. The girl has both an older and younger sister and a brother. Leame was surprised that no mother could raise so many children alone. Therefore, Cashew believes that if she works more, her mother will be less tired at work. It was also true that Cashew's mother instantly rejected Cashew's offer to join the ranks of the Demon Lord's army, even when they said that her daughter would have a good salary. It showed that she cares a lot about her children, but in the end, she allowed it because Cashew stood her ground to the end. Cashew's mother bowed and said that her daughter had told her about Leame. She said that, undoubtedly, as a buyer, he was in the first place for Cashew. Upon hearing this, Leame was somewhat perplexed, but he thought that Cashew, as always, keeps everything a secret. The mother said that her daughter may be inexperienced, but she hopes that Leame will take care of her. The guy agreed and said he would take full responsibility for the woman's daughter. The guys said goodbye and then walked in silence through the forest. Leame asked the girl if she was sure and then asked if she was surprised that he was more of an adventurer and now he works in the castle of the Demon Lord. Cashew stated that she was not surprised at all because he would reach great heights as a commander. Leame laughed awkwardly and thanked the girl. Cashew turned away and said that she had never walked this way. After that, she was distracted by a butterfly that was flying nearby. At that moment, Mila turned to Leame and said that he seemed very excited. The guy turned to her and asked her exactly when she had been listening to their conversation. Mila proudly stated that she had been listening from the very beginning. The guy felt awkward. Leame asked if Mila had invited Cashew just because they were friends. The girl said that this was one of the reasons. Since Leame is now the commander, he still needs a secretary. Mila sighed sadly, because she would not be able to be Leame's secretary at the end of her probation period. The guy was perplexed and said that Cashew was just a child. Mila grabbed the guy by the shoulders and quickly called him by name, which made him confused and asked what it was. The girl asked who, exactly, in Leame's opinion, he needed. The guy hesitated, and Mila said that he needed a like-minded person. She reiterated that the one he needed was a like-minded person. The guy looked at Mila in disbelief. He began to think about her words. The girl said that even if he rules others with a strong hand, he still depends on others. She said sternly that from now on, she and Cashew would admire Mr. Leame together. The guy asked in disbelief what she was talking about. Mila said that she and Cashew know that Leame's heart and magical abilities are very strong. Mila exclaimed that Mr. Leame was amazing, and for such people, hiding it or being unrecognized was not very clear to her. She said that Mr. Leame is a wonderful dark magician. The guy was amazed. The guy turned to Mila and then thanked the girl. He declared that he would do everything in his power. Mila cleared her throat, after which she said that through the ring, according to which Leame has a contract, he can summon monsters from other floors and control them. However, he needs permission from both the monster and the floor boss for this. Mila's subordinates are generally free, and Leame can use them, but there were snags. The girl suggested that from this moment on, Leame may find more comrades who will fully understand him in the same way as she and Cashew, and in whom the relationship will be built on trust. The guy thought about comrades who would understand him, and whom he could trust and fight alongside each other. When there were no professions yet, he was in the very center of attention among the children in the village. He had a lot of friends besides Phoenix. However, as soon as professions appeared, everyone changed their mind. The children asked if he really wanted to be a hero. Many said that as he was a dark magician he will remain so. They said that Leame had no future and he wasn't that good. They all left him, and only Phoenix did not leave then. They left him, saying that there was no use of dark magic and he would never become a hero. Everyone except Phoenix. The guy offered Leame to become the best, strongest heroes. He was thinking about the Phoenix and also about the fact that he had new companions now, monsters and adventurers. He understood that now their paths had parted. However, as the commander of the Demon King's army, when he meets Leame, he will fight the Phoenix without hiding his powers. He will assemble a team of strong comrades who will trust each other. On the ground floor of the Demon Lord's castle, there is a reception desk, and on the floors below, a dungeon and other places, such as public baths for staff, a dining room, a blacksmith shop, and a small cinema. There are so many places that today Mila decided to gather her friends together and take a short tour of the castle. Leame asked what kind of stadium it was. The girl said that there were werewolves there today, or to be more precise, it was a group of werewolves. Their leader and floor boss, Marchosius, is very kind, but he looks a little unfriendly. Hearing this, Leame remembered that they had recently fought with him as the boss of the fourth floor. Leame wondered if Marchosius would accept him, a former adventurer. The guy was thinking that werewolves are a species that can use both the body of a human and a half-human. He wondered if Marchosius would be less friendly with him. Leame was very worried about this. He just hoped that Marchosius wouldn't recognize him. The guy wanted to do everything possible to make the werewolf his companion. Mila said it would be like a recording stone of an attack. Next comes the second stadium. She asked the guys if they were ready to go. Cashew was amazed by these views. Leame asked her if they were going ahead. The girl happily agreed. Leame asked if he could entrust such a matter to a private secretary. He lifted the girl to the door, and she agreed with him, and then opened the gate. Once at the stadium, the guys were genuinely amazed by these sizes. Suddenly, Leame noticed a place where a lot of sounds were coming from. A huge number of werewolves trained at the stadium. One of them stood in the center and told the others to run again and again, because their speed would drop by half under the onslaught of terrible dark magic, and that means if you double the speed, then she will be the same. Suddenly, Marchosius noticed the guests. He turned to Madame Camille and asked what had brought her there. Suddenly, his gaze fell on those who were nearby. The boss of the fourth floor of the Demon Lord's castle was as strong as ever before, the head of the werewolves, Marchosius. The werewolf stared at Leame in silence for a while, after which he grinned, saying that he was a dark magician. Right after that, he happily patted the guy on the shoulder and said that he would never have thought that he would join their army. Marchosius said that he was very happy about it. Leame introduced himself by his demonic name. Marchosius noticed that the guy already has a dungeon and then said that he would know about it. Marchosius told Lemegeton with a smile that he was glad to meet him. Leame looked suspiciously at the werewolf, thinking that he had greeted him anyway. The guy realized that Mila knew this would happen. Leame decided that let it be so. He thought that if you look closely, Marchosius really looks quite kind and good. Marchosius told Leame with a smile that as far as he could remember, the werewolf had lost the last time. Leame replied that it was not worth mentioning. He said that Marchosius and his followers were also strong. The werewolf said that it was because Leame and that flame hero were very scary. The dark magician assumed that the guy was strong for a werewolf. Marchosius shouted loudly, asking what Leame was talking about. The guy covered a scared girl with himself. Marchosius said that the strength of the flame hero depends on his dark magic. The werewolf had never seen dark magic so powerful. The werewolf said that the guy was very young. He asked how much Leame had trained to achieve this result. As a man of honor, Marchosius admired the magician. As the werewolf said earlier, Leame and that hero scared him a lot. Leame thought about what it meant that he was watching not only the Phoenix but also him, as expected from the floor boss. Suddenly, Marchosius said that something else was bothering him. The guy looked at the werewolf questioningly. Marchosius said that at the moment when he was fighting the hero of the flame, he and the guy crossed eyes and the dark magic on him dissipated. The werewolf asked what was the reason. Leame looked at him carefully and then began to answer. He said that the Phoenix always wants a one-on-one fight and the werewolf wants it too. Leame said that if the monsters attacked them, they would be able to destroy everyone but not the Phoenix. Leame asked that, given this, it would not be disrespectful for him to interfere. Marchosius replied that the guy acted like a real man. However, he asked what Leame would do if the flame hero lost. Leame said that Phoenix would never lose one-on-one, so there's a choice between winning and not losing. The magician added that nevertheless, he still responded to the werewolf's desire in a one-on-one duel with him. Marchosius looked at the guy in surprise. Cashew was looking at the werewolf, who started laughing. He said with a smile that it was funny. Marchosius said that the guy is so confident in the victory of his friends, but still shows respect to the opponent. Marchosius turned to Leame, asking if the guy knew that only in special cases, a defeated monster can move to another floor. However, this does not apply to the draft. The werewolf had heard that Leame could gather up to 72 comrades to summon. He said that in that case, he wanted to become one of them. Marchosius clarified whether Leame's plan included defeating the Flame Hero group. The werewolf said he wanted to take revenge with them. He held out his hand to the guy, saying that he didn't think Leame was a bad person. Marchosius asked if Leame would allow the werewolf to sign a contract with him. Leame looked at Marchosius carefully, and then with a smile extended his hand to him, saying that he was counting on him. Marchosius laughed, saying that from today on, he and the guy are brothers. He thanked Camila for today. The girl replied with a smile that she should say that. The man turned to Leame and swore that he would answer the guy's call. The werewolves nearby talked about the fact that the guy was higher than the man in rank, but they still became friends. They decided that in that case, the guy was now their brother. Some of them chatted sweetly with Mila, who thought that the werewolves had come running. Leame agreed with a smile, and then thanked everyone. The guy was told that he would most likely be entrusted with the 10th floor. After all, this is the last line of defense in front of the 11th floor where the Demon Lord is located. However, the Phoenix group would still overtake him, so Leame should gather a large group of comrades and prepare for an attack. Marchosius said that the day after tomorrow, the hero of the flame should not take the 5th floor. In addition, their new members also wanted to take a closer look at it. Leame replied that he would monitor everything from the control room, so that's all for today. Marchosius said with a smile that friends should be kept close, and enemies even closer. He told Cashew that they would see each other later. The girl happily agreed to the man, calling him Sias. Leame thought that it was just difficult for the girl to pronounce his name. 2 days have passed since then. A voice rang out on the air, which announced that today the hero of the Phoenix Flame, along with his group, would try to break through the 5th floor of the Demon Lord's castle. The girl said she was wondering what was waiting for them there. The Phoenix group set off. They walked through the door, where they were greeted by a group of girls who greeted the guests. Alba was shocked by what he saw and asked what it was. Meanwhile, in the control room, he took a deep breath. He wondered who had said it would be easy. That day after Marchosius, Leame met a lot of other monsters, and some of them also signed a contract with him. Among them was the boss of the 1st floor, the guardian Adonabarius, and his subordinate, the invisible assassin Glacia Labolas. The boss of the 2nd floor, the warrior who rules the spirits, is Camaris. His assistant, a hunter immersed in darkness, is Lorai. Each of them was an excellent fighter and a reliable comrade. All the demons in this castle are very strong. Leame wondered what the Phoenix band was like now without a boyfriend. The Phoenix group stood and looked at the cute group of maids that stood in front of them. Alba asked with embarrassment if this was the 5th floor of the Demon Lord's castle. He couldn't figure out if they hadn't got it all mixed up. Lily replied that she had not been mistaken. Phoenix looked at them and thought he had a strange feeling. One of the girls headed towards Alba. She admired the fact that the guy is the owner of a magic sword. Her actions surprised the guy. The girl suggested that she should not. Phoenix stared at Alba in shock. He looked closer and saw small details. The guy realized that this is the charm of succubi. Phoenix suddenly shouted that no one should succumb to the girls. Lark said the words about what it means to show it too. The ability of succubi is to charm and suck out magical powers. The hero can resist, but the rest will soon die due to the sucking of magic from them. Phoenix swore in displeasure. The girls surrounded Alba when suddenly someone called out to Phoenix. The girl asked if the leader would let her deal with everything. The guy agreed and told her to show them what she was capable of as a new member of the team, calling Bella. Bella swung her sword, causing all the girls to be covered in ice. Phoenix said it was a good move to put a mana drain on everyone. The hero of the ice is Bella, who has signed a contract with the spirit of water. The girl came up to Alba and asked if he was okay. Lily apologized to Phoenix and Bella, to which the girl replied that there was nothing wrong with that. Alba swore because he felt bad. Lark said it was like a nightmare. He said that was what he expected from Bella. The impregnable castle of the Demon Lord was created as a stronghold and shelter for all representatives of monsters. But who knew that on the 5th floor there would be such an unusual view as succubi? Without the white magician, everyone except the hero will be exhausted. Lark said he didn't think they could cause so much trouble. Phoenix uttered the words that everything was fine. He said he would go ahead with Bella. The girl said she would go first then. Bella asked if the leader would cover for her if anything. The guy replied that it was self-evident. The girl was pleased. Looking at her, Phoenix had no doubt that she was a hero, despite the fact that she was only 13 years old. They passed through the succubi, where they noticed a door. Suddenly, the ice broke apart, which attracted the girl's attention. One of the girls rushed at Bella. The girl was dealt a powerful attack, which caused her to fall. Phoenix caught her, calling her name. Lily said there was supposed to be a safe area behind the door. Lark assumed that they had decided to close the entrance. Phoenix was saying that now they had no choice but to kill the boss of the 5th floor. The succubus called out to them, saying that they were not following what was happening. She asked if the guys didn't know that if you reduce the amount of mana in a spell, it will become weaker. Phoenix and his team headed into battle. The succubi also prepared to attack. Alba was shouting that Bella's amount of ice was getting smaller and smaller. He asked if it was because of their charm ability. The leader headed towards the succubus girl, saying that he would never have thought that the boss would attack himself, and even so suddenly. The girl said that she had heard that a guy could kill a boss with one punch. She wondered if that girl hadn't used ice, then the guy would have used flame. The guy replied that they would have failed anyway. Phoenix said that in that case, if the girl wishes, he will incinerate her with one blow. She replied that the guy wasn't cute at all. Phoenix didn't care, because the image must meet people's expectations. The girl said he was annoying. The guy replied that he expected other words from her. He said that he was the hero of the flame, the Phoenix, who would defeat her and pass on. The girl replied that she is a demon of love, Citri, and the guy really pisses her off a lot. The Big Bang attracted the attention of the team. Phoenix apologized, saying that they would never lose. The next day, the team was sitting in a tavern. Bella wanted a drink, but everyone sat in silence. The girl was holding her glass when suddenly another one bumped into her. Phoenix agreed to drink with a smile. The others noticed it and joined in too. That day, the team defeated the love demon Citri and passed the 5th floor. Now they're on the 6th floor. Lily screamed for them to be faster because she couldn't aim properly. Alba swore and replied to the girl to dodge. The guy attacked the monster, shouting for him to leave. He was infuriated by these monsters, so he cursed. Lark was also swearing because they were hitting harder and harder. The Phoenix fought the monsters in silence. Suddenly, something happened. Phoenix shouted for everyone to move away. A huge shark appeared in front of Lark. Phoenix called out to the guy who just apologized. He said he couldn't anymore. A huge shark dived into the water. Lily was shouting Lark's name loudly. Alba called out to the girl, warning her about the danger from behind. She replied that she understood. With Bella's help, they were able to capture the 6th floor, but the result was far from ideal. Lark was eaten by the monster of the seas, Fornius, and Lily just left the floor after him. Although they defeated the floor boss, the ruler of the water, Vepar, but it was clear that the main trio was not in the best shape at all. Alba suddenly swore. He asked if it seemed strange to them that their group had become stronger now, but for some reason it was so difficult for them. He exclaimed that Leame had left them. Phoenix was silent, and Lily just called Alba by name. The guy asked what happened, saying that if the girl wanted to say something in his defense, it was too late. Alba assumed that the girl owed him something and did not tell them about it. Lily said she would never forget what he had done for her. However, even if she starts defending him, Alba will still say that she is lying. The guy asked why she decided that and what she was hiding. Lark sighed, saying that they were in the way. He asked why they were making such a fuss at all. Alba shouted at the guy to shut up because he wasn't talking to him at all. He said that if he were Lark, he wouldn't relax because he made too many mistakes in the last raid. Lark sarcastically apologized, saying that he did not have such a magic sword. Alba asked with displeasure what the guy had just said. He told him to repeat it. Bella asked them to stop. The guy was shouting that there was definitely something wrong. He couldn't understand why the new floors became so difficult when they became stronger. However, he added that Bella is doing great, so she will make a great hero. Alba suddenly assumed that it was the unemployed Leame who cursed them. He shouted that the guy was definitely capable of such a thing. At that moment, the Phoenix called out to Alba. The leader shouted the guy's name furiously, grabbing him by the collar. This surprised Alba a lot. He was saying something unintelligible. Phoenix angrily kept repeating the guy's name. He asked how many more times he needed to repeat it. The whole team was in shock. The guy shouted that he knew that Alba didn't think much of him. He said it was because of him that Leame left. Phoenix asked if it wasn't enough for the guy anyway. Phoenix said that even if he wasn't their friend anymore, Leame was still his best friend. The guy was shouting furiously that did Alba really think that he, the Phoenix, would just stand and laugh while the guy was throwing mud at him. He threw the guy away and said it was the same for the others. He said that he did not encourage others to play the good-natured, but he was not going to tolerate their disrespect of a friend anymore. Lark said the words that Phoenix was right, but he also understood Alba's feelings. He said that they, just like the guy, just want to get better. However, they can't do anything yet. Lark said that Leame clearly lacked abilities, and let the guy remain Phoenix's friend. However, he must not forget that, first of all, he is the same as them. He asked if Phoenix really wanted to give up on the guys. Phoenix thought that in the end he had come to the conclusion that his attitude towards them was also a problem. After all, the guy hid Leame's real power from them, and now the three of them think he's just useless. Phoenix said that he would treat all his comrades equally, but he still believed that Leame was important to them. The guy did not count on their understanding, so he suggested that we forget the past and move forward. At that moment, Bella raised her hand, talking about the guy's words. She said she had a suggestion. She clarified that the 5th and 6th floors were difficult for the children. She asked if the guys had noticed that before. Although it was obvious, they seemed to have more luck. She asked if the guys didn't think so. This made Lark think. Bella was not familiar with Leame, and all this was just her speculation. However, she asked if the guys didn't think that Leame's abilities were really much stronger than they seemed at first glance. Phoenix looked at the girl in surprise. Lark and Alba were shocked. Bella said that when compared with past videos, the accuracy of Alba and Lily's attacks was much higher. Lily agreed with these words. Bella turned to Lark and asked if it had become more difficult for him to repel attacks. The guy replied that the girl was right. Phoenix wondered if Bella had decided to explain to them that they had become weaker without Leame's strength. The guy has noticed more than once that she explores a lot of old information and also keeps track of everything on the battlefield. Bella was quite smart and was much different from the rest of the adventurers. Lark guessed what the girl wanted to say about Leame's magic. Alba just swore. Lily suggested that they now think about how to move on when they lost the support of a first-class dark magician. Bella said that, of course, they might not take her words in. After all, where has it been seen that such a weak comrade helped the team so much? Alba started talking about the girl's words. He said the only bad thing was that the guy had left. Lark thought about how many times Leame had saved them. Phoenix uttered the words that he was no longer with them. For this reason, he only counted on their abilities. And according to Bella's suggestion, they need to come up with a new strategy now. And thus, the 5 of them capture the castle of the Demon Lord. He said they wouldn't lose because heroes never lose. Citri rushed to Lucy with tears in her eyes, apologizing to the Lord. She was talking about losing. Lucy smiled and reminded him that Citri had killed one. Moreover, this one was a hero. Vladica turned to Leame with the words that he had his first fight tomorrow. She asked if the guy had found any companions. Leame replied in the affirmative, saying that it was thanks to her help. He thanked the girl. Lucy said that since this is a banquet in his honor, there will be those who are interested in the Dark Magician, and those who came to this place to eat for free will also come. Today is a banquet in honor of joining Leame. The Demon Lord has booked a table at his favorite place. There are also many different types of monsters in this place. The guy was happy that he had such a chance to attend such events. Wherever he went, everyone immediately noticed and greeted him. As Lucy had said, everyone in her army would try to communicate with him. Citri said that a child named Phoenix was funny. He was determined to the last and his spirit was unwavering. Citri said that even his 4th rank in the world does not prevent him from showing respect to demons. She said that if she had been told that the gods had decided to create the most powerful magical body, and this child would be the result of their experiments, then she would have believed. Leame didn't see anything wrong with them praising his best friend, except Phoenix wasn't always this strong. However, looking at him now, he definitely would never have thought that he was once weak. After all, they had destroyed Citri with a single blow and quickly captured the 5th floor. The guy thought that he was getting closer and closer to the children, and even his presence did not bother him. Cashew happily said that it looks very tasty. Suddenly, someone turned to Leame. Camila smiled and told the guy to open his mouth. Leame awkwardly called out to the girl, asking if she really wanted to spoon-feed him. Mila looked at him, then assumed that the guy didn't accept food from monsters like her. She apologized and said it wouldn't happen again. Leame exclaimed for the girl to give him food. Camila said with a smile that she was very glad. Leame was very surprised and confused. Cashew also handed him food, so he addressed the girl by name. Suddenly, someone shouted the words for the pseudo-succubus to take his hands off her. He was asked if he couldn't see that the demon lord wanted to eat pudding. Citri said Arielis wasn't worried because she would feed her. Arielis was furiously shouting for the girl to show him at least one employee who hugs his boss after work. He shouted that it was unacceptable. Citri told him to watch because she was here. The girl turned to Lucy asking if the relationship between Citri and Lucy was really unacceptable. She asked if her heart wasn't pounding in anticipation right now. Lucy replied that it wasn't quite true. Citri said it wasn't ready yet. The girl was ready to try. Leame thought that Citri was trying to be happy, but it was clear from her that she was upset by the defeat. Arielis was swearing at Citri. The girl told him to stop saying she wasn't a real succubus. She asked if he didn't know that it was unpleasant to hear. Citri turned to Lucy, saying that Arielis was hurting her. Lucy agreed, so she turned to Arielis. She told the demon to stop hurting the girl. She recalled that he himself said that they should show respect to their allies and call them by their first names. Citri pointed this out and told Arielis to look at himself before saying anything to the girl. She told him to better take an example of behavior from Mila and the commander's secretary. They exclaimed the question of what they were doing at all. She asked what kind of relationship they had. Camila asked, displeased, what she meant by that. She sent the words that really the girl does not see that she is busy. Citri asked if she was not older than this child. She also said that they had been friends with Citri for much longer, so why are they so attuned to her? Camille asked how else she should talk to her when Leame was around. Moreover, she always treats Citri well. Citri asked if it was true. Camilla replied in the affirmative. She asked how one could treat such a good girl badly. The girl told Citri to just stay herself. Citri looked at Lucy and asked if she was really good. The demon lord replied in the affirmative. Lucy said that Citri is really good, just great. All generals are friendly in one way or another. Arielis found out about Cashew from someone. He noticed that their commander had another companion. Leame was a little confused, to which the general replied that everything was fine. He said there was no need to hide it. And Arielis immediately decided to sign a contract with the guy with some conditions. The way he talked to Cashew was a separate story. However, since the demon lord recognizes him as one of her generals, it means he will not harm the allies. At least that's what Leame hoped. Later, the guy met the Dark Knight, who was in full uniform and asleep at the first meeting. Leame also found out that her name was Forkaz in the dungeon. The guy handed her a plate and told her to hold it. She told the guy to give her food every time he calls her for help, so he signed a contract with her. Leame saw Citri, so he called out her name. The girl asked Leame if he could defeat that child. Leame assumed she was talking about the Phoenix. He replied that he could with the support of each of them. Citri asked if the guy was sure he could stop his best friend from getting the first place. Leame replied that he didn't care. He asked why he should give in to him since he was his best friend. The guy said he would fight to the end. Citri looked at him carefully and then suggested that Leame talk next time. She said that if Leame pleased her, then in return she would sign a contract with him. She asked if the guy thought it was weird that she was talking about herself in the third person. Citri said they would see each other again. Leame turned to Cashew and said that it was time for them to leave. The girl obeyed the commander with a smile. The guy asked Cashew if she had fun. The girl replied in the affirmative, saying that she had spent a lot of time in good company. At this point, someone said that Cashew was a promising girl. Leame noticed that Lucy had addressed him. The girl smiled and noticed that the guy had already talked to everyone. The guy agreed, and the Demon King did not wait and asked if he was ready for tomorrow's fight. Leame confidently agreed and said that he would show what he was capable of. Late at night, the dinner party ended and the guys said goodbye. Leame was walking down the street carrying Cashew on his back. Suddenly, a sleepy girl started talking to a guy who was listening attentively to her. Through her sleep, Cashew uttered the words that she wanted to become a monster in the future. She firmly stated that she had already made her choice. Leame listened to her attentively. When the girl became quieter, he thought that she was only 8 years old. You can only learn your profession at 10. Leame hadn't told her yet that things might not go the way she wanted. When he reached her age, the boy dreamed of becoming a hero, but he did not know what advice he could give her if he gave up and did not want to be one when his profession was defined as a dark magician. In any case, Leame decided that he would support and guide the girl on the path of his dreams. Cashew quietly told him that she had a request from Mr. Leame. The guy asked with a smile what she wanted to ask him. The girl said that until she grows up and can't help him, she would like him to stop signing contracts after the 71st. While saying this, she also mentioned his ring. Leame glanced at her briefly, thinking that this was very similar to Mila, who wanted to be his very first. Cashew looked at him and asked worriedly if he was against it. Leame smiled and said that this was not the case and he would only be glad of it. The girl happily said that now she has one more goal in life. Leame was somewhat perplexed, so he asked if she really wanted this. Cashew was confident in her words. She said that she would try very hard, and therefore after that, she would sign a contract with Mr. Leame. The guy just agreed with her. After this conversation, the girl fell asleep, and Leame looked at her briefly. He looked at the moon and thought that his first fight would take place tomorrow. He was excited. There weren't many people in the staff liaison room that day. Leame was standing in the middle of this room, fully dressed in his uniform. Someone addressed him by his demonic name. Lucy was looking at him, asking if he was sure about this. She said she would do as he asked, but she didn't know if he was sure about it. The guy confidently agreed with her. He took off the mask from his eyes, after which he said that since he decided to become a monster, it would be better that way. He thanked the girl for doing this for him. Lucy smiled and said the words about how strange he was after all. She asked if he knew what it meant to have just one horn. Before she mentioned it, Leame confirmed that he knew about it. She stared at him in silence, then asked him if her grandfather had told him about it. She sighed and agreed, saying that she was not advised to give the guy a good and intimidating name in the dungeon. Leame laughed and said that he had assumed that he would be close to the demon lord, but did not know that he was so close. Lucy sighed and said that he shouldn't think about it, because he has the right to do so, because if he wants to, he will just take it and become the Lord of Demons. The girl said that the guy should not disclose his name to anyone, and today he is just a mysterious guy in a robe. Leame agreed and said he understood her. Lucy said that since this was his first defensive battle, he shouldn't lose right away. The guy said with a smile that he would prove to the Demon King that she had chosen him for a reason. She noticed with a smile that he was already making a promise to her. The guy said that he would be back soon, after which he quickly disappeared. He quickly appeared on the first floor of the Demon Lord's castle. He walked around and met Leame. Leame said with a smile that he hoped they would get along today. The demon also smiled and said that today they should drive away the invaders. It was the invisible killer, Leame. His name is too long, so the guy used to call him just Gla in his head. Leame said that the hero will appear soon, and as soon as they get closer, you should dispel the magic. The demon's magic makes the target invisible, and today they will use this feature for combat. Today's guests occupy the 249th place. They will head straight to the end of the arena, where the boss will be waiting for them. Since Phoenix had already passed the first floor, Leame assumed that they would just copy his passing style. However, Leame will interfere with their plans. He wished that these heroes would not even think that the impregnable castle of the Demon Lord was named just like that. In their group there is a hero, 2 warriors, a holy knight, and a hunter. The warriors are a guy and a girl. Leame noticed the lightning and therefore quickly came to the conclusion that this meant that the hero had signed a contract with the wind spirit. Leame realized that it was Noth who was called the Roaring Lightning Hero. One of the monsters was lying heavily on the ground while this hero was laughing, saying that he was impregnable. The guy asked the rest of the team if they thought it was all too easy. One of them asked if the first floor was created solely as an entrance. The other girl also said that it was extremely good that the enemies here had too fierce a look, because if they were nicer, she would not have been able to hurt them. The guy in the armor said that the Phoenix group had already passed this floor, and they only needed to repeat what they were doing. Another guy with glasses asked if they should at least do something in their own style at the end. He stated that anyone who watched the replay would call them a disgrace. The hero gave the guy an evil look and said that he was stupid. He stated that as long as they didn't have a bad dark magician, they wouldn't be a disgrace. They agreed that there was truth in the hero's words, but they could not fully assure that this was the case. Leame, standing behind them, was extremely hurt by this, because their words reminded him of Alba. The guy turned to the head and said that it was time to start. With the help of invisibility, they have learned enough about their opponents, and since they do not have a single magician, even if the opponent is invisible, he still radiates magic that hides it. However, the advantage of dark magic is that it is always invisible to the eyes. Leame thought that they had already moved away enough, and although he felt sorry for those transparent dogs that went first, he needed such a sacrifice so that the enemy would relax and think that everything would be easy to the end. Now he was ready to start. In the blink of an eye, the invisibility magic was lifted. The group of heroes noticed this and quickly turned back. Leame was somewhat surprised that they reacted to him like that. He thought that they probably thought of him as a humanoid monster leading a pack of ghostly dogs that suddenly appeared behind them. The hero asked who it was and if it was a demon, and then asked if there shouldn't only be dogs here. The girl said that if he was there, then he was not visible on the early recordings. She came to the conclusion that the hero voiced. The guy said that the Phoenix group just didn't meet him. Leame raised his hand, after which the ghostly dogs disappeared. The guy with glasses told them to stop, because it's quite obvious that this is a trap. The girl agreed, but was not sure about anything. Leame was thinking that this holy knight was right. Although they are all knowledgeable enough, their information ends only with Phoenix's records. Then he wondered what would have happened if they had known more. For example, the fact that he can become invisible at any moment. The hero clenched his hand into a fist and said that they should do it. He loudly exclaimed that they should run before he disappeared. Heroes always choose the path of the group. They have superhuman strength. They can't even imagine being defeated by someone other than the Demon Lord. The hero screamed loudly. Leame thought that this hero was clearly not satisfied with his position, and the guy knew it. They all ran straight at the guy with loud screams. Leame slowly raised his arm forward, after which he began to gain strength. Suddenly, the holy knight froze. The guy panicked and told the others that he couldn't move. He saw something that scared him extremely much. Many ghost dogs rushed at him, and he screamed loudly. The others turned back, and one of the girls asked what they should do now, and if they wouldn't help him. The hero also said that they should leave him because he is a holy knight, so he can restrain about 6 such dogs. The guys agreed with him, and the hero said that it was important for them to hurry up. The knight with the weight tried to attack and defend himself from the dogs. He was screaming loudly, not understanding at all why it was so hard for him to move. Leame was thinking that he would not reveal Lemegeton's identity today. The guy understood that he couldn't let people know that such a powerful dark magician was on the lower floors, so he had to try not to show himself. The knight said that it was hard for him to move, so he just couldn't believe what was happening. He didn't understand if ghost dogs could use ghost magic, or if that demon in the robe wasn't using it to control other dogs. The knight clutched his shield, thinking that even if there were fewer of them, he couldn't handle one right now. He looked around and thought that everything was very bad, and in any case, someone was using dark magic, but he couldn't figure out who exactly it was. Leame realized that this guy had noticed dark magic. In fact, if the knight overcomes the dogs, then everything will be very good for Leame. However, now invisible dogs can use dark magic, so it's better for the guy to kill them first. The knight shouted that there was no such thing with the Phoenix group, and it was all just a trap. He said that almost all of them are dark magicians, and they want to divide the team into parts. He felt even more weak and began to lose his mobility, slowly sinking down. Eventually, he just disappeared. The hero loudly exclaimed that he had disappeared. The girl said that even if he warned them that it was a trap, they had already fallen into it anyway. He let out an exasperated sigh, then rushed towards Leame. The guy was amazed that this hero was not going to help his comrades. Phoenix and other groups use the go together as a team strategy, but these guys don't even try to do that, and so they split up, as Leame planned. The dark magician quickly disappeared, leaving the hero alone. He looked around viciously and ordered the enemy to come out, otherwise he would kill him. Leame appeared, after which he immediately directed the ghost dogs at the hero. The guy did not lose his head and easily got rid of the dogs. He asked irritably if the demon was still sending his vile puppets. He said that, in that case, he would just kill them all. He plunged his sword into the ground and used many lightning bolts to defeat the dogs. All of them disappeared, so others were afraid to approach. At the moment when the hero noticed something strange, it was already too late. Gla, who was behind him, rushed at the hero, wanting to kill him. Their offensive went exactly as Leame had planned. In an attempt to track down the demon, the hero will abandon his comrades and apply a large-scale spell to detect invisible enemies. Magic consumes the mana accumulated in the body, which means that he will not be able to do this for a long time. The hero dodged the attack of the Gla and began to retreat. Now it's Leame's turn to perform. He raised his hand, after which the hero felt terribly weak. Suddenly, he found himself in a dark space. The destruction of the mind and utter darkness. Leame wondered what he thought of such a bad dark magician now. The hero looked back and tensed because for some reason he stopped seeing. Suddenly, his eyes widened in shock. Right in front of him was Gla, who was about to attack him. The demon quickly approached and bit the hero's neck, then threw him high into the sky. At this time, his team was already in bad shape. They were unable to continue fighting. When the hero fell to the ground, many ghostly dogs rushed at him and began to eat. Leame looked and smiled at Gua, saying that he had done a great job. He thanked the demon and said that without him, Leame would not have succeeded. The guy sat down and stroked the ghost dogs, saying that the magic of invisibility is really amazing. The dogs were happy to go to the guy and lick his face. Leame laughed and asked them to calm down. He thought that when he returned, he should definitely thank those dogs who died. He started stroking the dogs, saying that since they liked his hands, he would stroke them until they died. That's how his first case ended. In a large house, he straightened his clothes, thinking that he seemed to have done a good job. He looked in the mirror, thinking that he was extremely glad that Cashew's mother had chosen a suit for him. Besides, he was very happy that his new job was going smoothly. After that battle, many groups decided to go to the castle and hunt him down, but Leame's place was not there because he is the boss of the 10th floor, Lemegaton. Now he and Cashew were coordinating staff on all floors. The Phoenix group continues to advance. They had already passed the 7th floor, the realm of heaven and tribulation. They were already on their way to the 8th, the realm of war. Leame's fight was already extremely close, but today he did not have enough time to think about work. He opened the door. Leame had a day off, and he had already promised to meet with one person. This girl helped him with everything. He walked through the park, thinking that he had arrived half an hour earlier, which meant that he would have to wait. Suddenly he was surprised, because Mila was already there. The girl was sitting on a bench and waiting for Leame. Someone approached Camille, who was sitting on a bench. The man called out to the girl asking why she was sitting. He assumed she was waiting for someone. The man asked if she was really waiting for him. He asked Camille if they could have a drink. The girl politely declined. The man asked why she didn't want a drink. He assumed his drink was too cheap for her. Camila apologized and asked if the man could leave. The man looked at the girl questioningly, then fiercely asked what she had said. He swung, saying that when she was treated well, she should respond in kind. Suddenly, someone intervened, saying that this was enough. Leame grabbed the man's arm, causing him to start screaming. The man was screaming for the guy to let him go. He screamed in pain, said he understood everything. The girl said the words that everything was like last time. The guy looked at her questioningly. The man ran away screaming that he was sorry. Leame was thinking about the girl who had just said it was like last time. Leame asked Camille if she was okay. The girl answered in the affirmative and then thanked him. Leame was thinking about a drunk man and a handsome vampire. He remembered Camille saying that Leame had helped her once and they had been talking ever since. The guy assumed that he had already helped the girl once. Camille asked the guy if they were going, to which he replied in the affirmative. The girl said that going on a date on her day off with Leame was like a dream. Leame replied that he also likes to spend time with a girl. He asked, for that matter, if he could pamper her today. The couple went for a walk and ate. Suddenly, Leame noticed the street they were walking along. Camille called out to the guy, saying that she was a little tired. She asked if they could rest somewhere. The guy asked the girl about the rest, after which he awkwardly asked if she really wanted to suck blood. Leame asked if he was right. The girl pouted resentfully and told the guy not to talk about her like some kind of insatiable blood-sucking vampire. She asked if Leame really had such a low opinion of her. The guy was very confused by Camille's words. The girl whispered in his ear that everything was fine. Camille said that it was up to him to decide now what he wanted and what to do next. After that, the girl laughed a little. Leame noticed that something had fallen out of Camille's hand. On the piece of paper was written a Citri manual on how to capture a guy's heart and lose your innocence with him. Camila, with great embarrassment, shouted for the guy to wait. She said that Citri had given it to her without her knowledge. The girl was screaming that she didn't even know she had one. Leame thought that he didn't know why, but he liked Camille. He told the girl that everything was fine. He thought Camille was always trying to treat Leame well. The guy decided that if not now, then there would be no other chance. Leame turned to Mila with the request that she suck some blood from him. That's how the couple ended up in this room. Leame called out the girl's name, to which Camilla looked at him questioningly. Leame asked about the fact that they had already met before. Camille asked confusedly if Leame didn't remember her. The guy apologized, saying that he did not remember. Camille said that if you help everyone so often, it's no wonder he didn't remember anyone. In the girl's opinion, it was good. Leame said he only vaguely remembers one drunk man and a beautiful vampire. He asked if it was 2 years ago. Camille confirmed his words, saying that everything was right. She met him 2 years ago. The girl worked as a vampire in a dungeon in another city. Camilla's specialty is blood control. Only some of the higher vampires can control her as well as the girl. The girl eventually chose to become a monster. She didn't have much choice, but she had to get stronger. Camille was so optimistic, counting on her abilities. She thought that a little more and she was about to become the floor boss or the head of the dungeon. Unfortunately, reality is full of disappointments. No one supported Camille, and when she decided to find out the truth, she heard that adventurers never harm women because it has a bad effect on their reputation and views. It was all because Camille is a girl. However, she couldn't figure out why. Camilla was very angry. She was at a loss. One day, a noble invited her to have dinner with them. The girl refused and her life went downhill. She was forced to guard the intermediate floor, which no one had ever entered. Camilla was very upset, but she had no choice. But she also met the Phoenix group there. Camilla looked at the dark magician Leame and thought that she knew the truth. All because his best friend, the hero of the flame, his group became the 13th in the world in strength. Camille told Leame about what it means to become a high-level dark magician. He decided to sign up as a friend of the hero. Then the guy looked at the girl in surprise and tried to call out. Leame said the girl didn't look well. He asked if she was okay and if she had someone to escort her. Camille couldn't understand why he wasn't angry. Suddenly, someone called out to the girl. The man asked if everything was okay with Camille. He said that the girl was quite beautiful. The man asked if she would like to rest somewhere. He continued to call her, to which Camille replied irritably that she was fine. However, before she could finish speaking, she was grabbed. The man was talking about not letting the girl misunderstand them. He assumed that the girl couldn't move right now. He knew she couldn't. The man said that the beautiful girl decided to go for a rest after she had a little too much with a strong drink. The girl was attacked. She couldn't understand why the world was like this. Nothing good had ever happened in her life, and in all this, she blamed only herself. No one cared about her. All they wanted was her body. The man said that he was in pain. He asked the man next to him that maybe he would take a moment off and help them. However, the man was unconscious. The man in shock began to ask what had happened to him. The second man suddenly screamed that he couldn't see. He began to swear, saying that he had a bad feeling. At that moment, Leame appeared and attacked the man. This shocked the other man, who was swearing and asking who the guy was. He shouted for him to stop. Leame quickly attacked him, which startled Mila. The men were unconscious, and the guy was standing in front of the girl. He glanced at the silent Camille, then apologized, saying that he was a little late. He gave her clothes and told her to put them on because she needed them more now. The girl trembled and asked why he helped her. She started crying and said it was even after what she said. Leame said that when she left the restaurant, the three followed her, so the guy thought he should follow her. The girl replied that this was not the reason. The guy said the words that he can't just ignore this. Camille asked why he thought that, especially about a woman like her. Leame replied that he also had those who hated him. He agreed that it hurt, but they are everywhere and everyone has them. The guy said that the girl is fundamentally different from them. He said that after everything he had heard from her, he did not think that the girl hated him. He assumed that she was very annoyed about something. When someone doesn't like something or they get hurt and they can't do anything about it, they try to take it out on others, whether it's family, friends, or just those who are nearby. He said that not everyone is like that. There are also those who are just strong and nothing will break their will. Leame said with a smile that even so, there is no need to save everything in yourself. After all, it will break out sometime. He said that therefore, if a girl wants to speak out, she should not do it with her loved ones. It is better to tell one stranger that he is in the wrong place at the wrong time. Camilla tearfully asked the guy for forgiveness. She cried and repeated apologies for what she had said to the guy. She said he hadn't done anything wrong. Leame replied that everything was fine and he didn't hold a grudge against her. The girl asked why, despite his great strength, he still listens to vile words addressed to him. Leame replied that whether it was a black magician, a woman, or just someone young, there was no point in getting angry anyway. Camille asked if that wasn't wrong. Leame agreed with her but objected to something. Leame said with a smile that she should look at it from the other side. He said it was always easy to give up, but then she would suffer from everything that was happening. He asked if he was right. The girl looked at him and said that he had not given up. Leame said that all this is because he has a dream and he wants to achieve it in every way. He admired those who could give up so easily during the competition, because if they reached the limit and there was no strength to go further, it was easier to move away. And if you look at it from the other side, this is not a surrender, but a retreat. He said that knowing this, she should try to do things differently next time, and if he did something to her, then he apologizes. A cloudy drop fell on the girl's hand. She burst into tears and thanked Leame. In the present tense, the guys were sitting in the room when Mila finished her story. Leame understood her and asked if that time was what made her a fan of his. Mila said that it might sound strange, but it is. Leame was surprised that it happened because of such a small thing, after which he said that it would be more correct to say that he was just lucky. Mila looked at him in disbelief after these words. The guy said that he wanted to become a hero, but despite all his efforts he would never become one. Leame was too far from the stream, so he was probably destined to end up as a dark magician. However, Leame also thought that there was still hope. He helped Mila then, and 2 years later she helped him. He believed that if he did good deeds, they would eventually come back to him. Moreover, he had to thank Mila for the fact that now he can work in the castle of the Demon Lord, because now the guy can become a hero for all monsters. He addressed Mila as his benefactor, and then thanked her. The girl was touched by his words. She blushed and called his name, after which she repeated it over and over again, asking why it was him. The girl's whole face was red as she hung over him. She asked if everything was okay and if she could pierce his body with her fangs. Leame smiled warmly and agreed, after which Mila immediately bit him. After a while, they were lying in bed together. Mila asked Leame if he had noticed what they had been saying all night. She stated that if she told anyone, no one would believe that they had slept together without any other subtext. The girl sweetly said that now they are a real couple. However, she still wanted to change the word sleeping to in love. However, she would prefer that it was Mr. Leame who decided everything himself. After that, she asked with a smile if she should decide it herself, or if he wanted to give such a decision to her. The guy asked, since it was him, if everything was okay. Mila said that's exactly what happened. She then asked if that meant he was making her special to himself. She asked if he was against it. After that, they approached each other and looked at each other for a while, after which Leame closed his eyes and smiled warmly, saying that he did not mind at all. Blitz offered a drink with a smile. He said it was for Leame's new job. The couple happily agreed to drink. The man suddenly started talking about Lem's new job. The guy said that it turned out to be better than he could have imagined. Camila added that Leame is their savior, their hero. Blitz mentioned the guy's past battle against the band. Leame said it was just a defensive campaign. The man said that the guy used magic there, which he did not show to anyone. He wondered if it would work on heroes. Camille replied that of course it would work. Leame grinned, so the girl asked what was funny about it. The guy replied that it was nothing funny. He was just amused to hear that. Camille pouted slightly, so Leame awkwardly apologized to her. The girl replied with a smile that the guy was forgiven. Blitz suddenly started talking about a couple. He noted that they are on good terms. Camille replied that he had a good eye. She confirmed that she and the guy are on good terms. Leame said with a smile that the girl goes everywhere with him. Blitz asked if that was a bad thing. The man said that the more the guy always shunned people. However, he still tries to hide everything from the one he knows more than others. Blitz, Leame apologized to him. Blitz just wanted to tell Leame to be more open. The guy agreed. Suddenly someone asked if they had a minute, which surprised the guys. The guy addressed Leame by name, saying that they had not seen each other for a long time. Leame was surprised to ask the guy why he was in this place, calling him an Arielist. It was the hero of the storm, Arielis. Along with the Phoenix, they are the two who made a pact with the 4 great spirits. The hero said that they hadn't seen each other for so long. He asked if the guy was already chasing him away. The hero was also the leader of the #1 group in the world. Ariel turned to Leame and said that he was actually looking for him, and it was quite problematic. Leame was surprised that the hero was looking for him. People around began to recognize the #1 in the world. The guy thought it was a bad thing. Leame used confusion. He thought about how close it was. If he talks to the leader of the strongest group here in front of everyone, it will cause a lot of problems. Leame can cast his dark magic on anyone in his line of sight. After his departure from the band, journalists wanted to interview him every now and then. However, none of them could see the guy because he was using confusion. Thus, he hid his identity. But strong people like Arielis can resist his magic. The hero sighed in surprise. The guy thought that most likely, because he was using confusion, he was following the path of the traces of magic left by Leame. The guy shook hands with the hero, saying that they had not seen each other for a long time. Arielis apologized for not introducing himself earlier. He gave his name, saying that he is currently working as an adventurer. The hero asked the guys if they were friends of Leame. Blitz jumped up, confirming his words. The man said that he was a big fan of Arielis too. He asked if he could ask for an autograph. The hero agreed, and Blitz was glad that he and Leame were friends. Arielis said with a laugh that the guy had great friends. He noticed that the guy's life was getting better from the moment he came here. Leame confirmed his words. The hero thought about it and then assumed that the young lady in front of him was a vampire. Camila confirmed his words with surprise. Arielis asked if the girl wasn't adorable. He said she was hiding her identity in order to live with a boyfriend. The hero assumed that the girl highly appreciates him. The hero also suggested that the girl is in a relationship, and clearly not friendly or just loving. Leame thought confusedly that he really wanted to say that she was his wife. Arielis said with a laugh that he was worried about Leame when he left the Phoenix band. However, he did not expect that the guy would calmly drink and spend time with such a lovely girl. Leame replied that he was pleased that at least someone was worried about him. Suddenly, the hero apologized. He asked the guys if he could take Leame away from them for a minute. The hero turned to the guy, saying that he had heard that the guy was looking for a band. Arielis asked if he would like to join him. This statement shocked the guys. Arielis asked who Leame was working for now. The guy awkwardly replied that he was definitely not an adventurer. Leame asked the hero who had left his group. Arielis replied that Panna had left. The guy was surprised that it was a panacea. Panacea is a 32-year-old white magician. Although the white magicians are not particularly stronger than the dark ones, the girl managed to prove her strength and join the #1 group in the world. Arielis said that she had a third child, so she clearly has no time for adventures right now. Leame realized that it would be temporary. The hero explained that this is on a permanent basis. He said that we are not talking about any temporary positions. Leame was shocked to be officially invited to the #1 band in the world. Leame asked in shock why he was the one. Arielis asked if the guy hadn't figured it out yet. He said Leame was in a group ranked 4th in the world. With his departure, they don't have it too easy, so they just underestimated the guy's strength. Ariel said that, besides, he himself had recently realized how strong the guy was. He assumed that the guy knew the demon lord, Lucifer. Leame thought about what he naturally knew because he was his employer, however he couldn't say it openly. Ariel said that during the raid war when he was still a beginner he crossed paths with many groups. However, one look from Lucifer made him speechless. He didn't look like anyone else. The hero said that when he first saw the guy he felt the same fear that he felt in front of him. Leame understood what was going on. He thought that it was definitely not because of what he had taught him. The guy suggested that there must be a reason why he sensed his powers from him. The magician thought that since Arielis realized that Leame was hiding something, it meant that he was #1 in the world for a reason. Ariel looked at the guy, saying that they would be glad to see him, so he should think for a week and then give an answer. Blitz was shocked by what he saw. He was very enthusiastic about the fact that the guy could become #1. Camille awkwardly uttered the words that this familiar Leame was simply amazing. She congratulated the guy with a smile on her face. Camilla lowered her head, sadly saying that now the guy can fulfill his dream. The girl hesitantly uttered the words that she would never forget him. The girl's words made the guy look at her in surprise. Leame asked Camille if she really thought he could accept his offer. This puzzled the girl, so she looked at the guy questioningly. Camille asked if some of the goals didn't match. She talked distantly about how the Lemagaton monster would always have to hide his face, and no one would ever know about his identity. Leame replied seriously to Camille that what he had said earlier was not his main goal. He grabbed the girl by the hand and led her away, apologizing to the confused Blitz who was left alone. The guy loudly called out to the hero and asked him to wait. Arielis looked at the couple carefully and assumed that the guy had already decided. Leame confirmed his words, so the hero said that in that case he was glad to hear the news from the guy. Leame said he would be happy to join, but there is something else. Leame uttered the words that he was forced to refuse. Arielis asked the guy if he could ask for the reason he refused. The guy with a confident smile on his face said the words that he wants to become #1, but this does not mean that he wants to get it just like that. Arielis was very surprised by the guy's answer, and then thoughtfully replied that he understood Leame. He suggested that for Leame, the priority is to realize his dreams on his own. The hero apologized to the guy for disturbing him in vain. Leame replied that it was okay. He said with a slight bow that he was still very glad to know that there were adventurers who appreciated him. Arielis uttered the words that if so, it turns out that Leame has already found his place. He asked if he was right. Leame confidently replied in the affirmative. Ariel said that then he would carefully watch how the guy would become the best. He told Leame not to disappoint him. Leame replied that when they met, he would definitely win. Arielis said the words that it was wonderful. He told the guy not to lose by then. A couple of days after meeting Ariel, Leame decided to take a walk with Cashew. He decided to take a break from organizing treaties and forming a battle strategy with the Phoenix group. After all, sometimes it was necessary to change the environment. Suddenly, Cashew noticed something interesting and called Leame to look at it, saying that she really wanted to go there. The boy smiled and agreed with her. The girl was surprised and asked if he allowed it. This was Scylla's design office. This is the very place where the avatars for the entire Demon Lord's castle work. With a wide smile, the girl said that she wanted to apply for an avatar. At that moment, a girl came out from behind the wall and asked in surprise if this girl was by any chance Cashew's secretary. She smiled broadly and asked what such a little girl needed. Then she exclaimed that the girl did not have to answer because she already knew the outfit that would suit Cashew. Leame looked at the girl in some confusion while Cashew hid behind him. The girl with octopus legs bowed and said that they should not be so afraid of her, because she had been thinking about an outfit for Cashew for a long time when she learned that they had such a wonderful secretary. She excitedly said that she was, after all, a genius of design. The girl also added that Mila had already told her everything, and therefore she had already created it for the girl. She asked if she wanted to try it on. Leame sat down and asked the girl what she thought. Cashew was awkwardly silent, then shook her head in agreement. The girl was happy and said that they should go to the dressing room together. The girls left, and Leame was left alone. He looked at the other outfits, thinking that this meant she would get her clothes today but not her avatar yet. He wondered if all these clothes were handmade to order. Suddenly, Leame heard a loud scream. Behind the wall, Cashew was asking the girl if she was okay, to which the designer said that everything was fine and she was simply shocked at how cute the girl looked in those clothes. Cashew shyly asked if she was cute. Then she thought about it and said that she wanted to look scary instead. The girl said that Cashew looks exactly like that in some way. She said that she means it in a good way because in certain situations, behavior plays a more important role than clothing. She was thinking of an example to give, but Cashew stopped her and said that she understood. The curtain opened and Leame turned pale in shock. In front of him stood the incredibly cute Cashew in a furry suit. She growled and said that she would tear him to pieces and then eat him. Leame stared at the girl in silence as the designer lay on the floor, blushing as she spoke of her choice. Leame couldn't help but think that Cashew looked very cute. After a while, the guy asked the girl if she liked it, to which she responded extremely positively. Leame asked if she wanted to eat some sweets in the cafe, and the girl became even happier. So Leame spent his day with Cashew, not thinking about work, which he was extremely happy about. A couple more days passed and Phoenix's group went all 9 floors and tomorrow will go to the last 10th. Leame lay on his bed in his room and watched the recording on his phone. He couldn't get rid of the thought that tomorrow they would have their final battle. Suddenly, the guy heard a knock at the door. He stood up and, opening the door, looked out and asked what his guest needed. The stranger introduced himself and said with a smile that this was Phoenix. He noticed that Leame had an extremely funny reaction to the guests. Leame walked out of the room and tried to ask Phoenix something, after which he quickly rephrased his question. He asked his old friend if he wanted to explain why he had come secretly, without warning anyone. Phoenix said that he understood that it looked very strange, but he stated that it was Leame, and that said it all. He said that he had heard from Arielis earlier that Leame had found a job, and he was not telling him about it. Leame remained silent and then said that before answering he wanted to know the answer to the question of how Phoenix found him. The guy agreed and said that from the place where they met with Ariel, Phoenix decided to find all the taverns nearby and scan the mana in them. Leame, hearing about this, made a face and asked his friend if he was really a stalker. Phoenix firmly said that there was something he wanted to talk about with his friend. He also said that if Leame were in Phoenix's place, he would also start to worry. Leame agreed and apologized, after which he said that for certain reasons it was difficult for them to see each other. After a short pause, Phoenix agreed and said that he still wanted to tell Leame something. The guy opened the door and asked about it, after which he said that it was not that important. He invited his friend to go and have a drink and talk. Phoenix was confused and asked Leame if he was sure. The guy sighed and said that it was nothing, then said that he wanted to ask his friend something earlier. He said that Phoenix was going to raid the castle tomorrow, so he asked if it would be better to give up alcohol. Phoenix said with a smile that everything was fine, because he was a hero, and therefore he didn't think anything would happen to him. Leame remained silent, but thought that Phoenix was acting as usual. After a short pause, he said that they should go inside. When the boys arrived at the right building, Leame asked if this meant that his friend had told the reporters everything and left. Phoenix confirmed this, then asked how his friend was doing. Leame asked what Phoenix was talking about and then stated that he had been acting strangely since they met. This question made Phoenix hesitate. The hero awkwardly said that he thought his friend would be angry. Leame asked if his friend was talking about how he found him. The guy agreed that he thought it was terrible, but Phoenix still shouldn't worry about it. The guy said that it wasn't true and he was talking about the band. Leame immediately shut up. He realized that Phoenix had been harping on about it all along. Then he realized that, if he thought about it, Phoenix had been trying his best to keep him in the band. Leame said that his friend was a fool, and if the boy were angry at such trifles, he would have gotten angry first in childhood when he found out that he was not a hero. Phoenix smiled and agreed, saying that was just the way Leame was. He apologized to his friend for all the inconvenience he had caused. Leame agreed and said that in that case, since Phoenix was apologizing, he would also pay. Then he said that he hadn't received his salary yet anyway. Phoenix smiled and agreed, saying that they had agreed. Then he suddenly asked his friend if he had a girlfriend. Leame immediately started coughing. Phoenix asked if Leame was being reserved with her and if he could talk to her next time. The boy was confused, angry at Ariel. He wondered what he had said to him. Leame said that, firstly, they are just friends at the moment, but he is more interested in how Phoenix found out about this in the first place. Phoenix looked down and apologized, then took a sip of his drink. He said that although it was another topic of conversation, he was interested in why Leame had left on his own. The boy gasped, and Phoenix said that Alba, Luck, Lily, and Bella were very important to him, but he couldn't let go of the fact that he and Leame started out together because of a promise they made as children. He asked if his friend remembered that. Leame, of course, remembered everything. They, as childhood best friends, formed a group and began their life of adventurers. Phoenix wanted them to become number one together, and he supported him. Leaving the group without Leame even explaining anything felt like a betrayal to Phoenix. Leame said that even if it was true, he still couldn't stay there any longer. He said that for everyone he is just a dark mage, who walks around the group as a dead weight. Even if we assume that everyone in the team recognizes his power, then the same Alba will not be able to refrain from rude statements. Phoenix exclaimed that they had already become number 4 in the world and they had very little time left. Leame said that it was so, and Phoenix could assume that Alba had just gone and destroyed all those years of effort. Phoenix fell silent. Leame spoke about the hero's achievements. He asked what kept him from receiving the number 3, since he should have risen in rank long ago. Phoenix exclaimed that he was there for so long because they had risen to rank 4 too quickly. Leame claimed that it wasn't all his fault. However, he also wanted to notice that Phoenix's new companion, Bella, was very talented. The guy was surprised and asked Leame if he had seen their raid. The guy confirmed it. Phoenix stood up and said that, in that case, Leame understands that with her, their power and screen time has increased, but he is only bothered by the thought that he had to accept her into the group. Leame thought that Alba and the others were high-ranking adventurers, but they were not heroes and were not trained by a demon lord. They are all the same age, but their limits were the same. While they are young, they have potential, but while they are young, they do not have the necessary experience. Leame wanted to reach number 1 with Phoenix as quickly as possible. Naturally, he tried to hide his abilities and therefore stood out from his comrades. As a result, they looked stronger than Leame in the eyes of others, but in fact, the guy was the restraining factor that did not allow them to open up completely. Phoenix lowered his head and said that he was very sorry. Leame turned to him and asked if their opinion had not changed after the 7th floor. Phoenix said that it was true, and it was all thanks to Leame. After a short conversation in which Phoenix explained everything, Leame learned that Bella realized how strong his dark magic was. The guy asked if even Alba realized everything. He couldn't believe it. Phoenix said with a smile that even Luck and Lily had changed their minds about Leame. Alba hesitated for a long time, but they all knew him. Leame agreed with this, after which he noted that Bella was very perceptive. Phoenix agreed and said that this was why he had to lie to her a little. After that, Leame thought deeply. Excessive dark magic gives people access to black magic, and this type of magic is very dangerous for all of humanity and brings only death. If someone is caught using black magic, the whole group will be in trouble. This is the reason why Leame hides his abilities. Phoenix put the empty glass with ice on the table and turned to Leame. The guy suddenly stopped his friend and asked him not to say anything because he knew why he didn't tell him. Leame said he didn't want to start a conversation about that. He noted that if Phoenix wanted to kick someone out, he should do it right away, but it would be pointless for him to kick out Alba and the others, because then there would be no one to support the hero in battle. Phoenix said heavily that he knew it. He turned to Leame and noted that he said that he never put their dream first. Leame thought that was true, but now he could give an answer. He said that he still planned to become a hero. Phoenix was surprised. The guy asked his friend if he knew that Leame had turned down Ariel's offer. He said that getting number 1 right away doesn't mean you'll get there yourself. Phoenix asked if that meant his friend had already found another group. Leame thought about it, then said that it didn't. Phoenix extended his hand to him and said that he could say whatever he wanted, because his friend would understand him. Phoenix reminded Leame of his words about still planning to become a hero, to which the boy responded that he had simply found himself some comrades. Phoenix looked at him with a heavy look, then said that he understood his friend. Leame turned to him and asked if he knew that they were now in competition with each other. He asked if he didn't remember what happened when Phoenix called him to the group. He asked if he should do it again. As children, they were sitting in a field, and Leame asked Phoenix if he understood that heroes always win in the end. He asked if that meant that whoever wins in the end is the hero. Leame said that if Phoenix wasn't careful, the guy might take the title away from him. Phoenix smiled and said that he remembered that. Leame smiled and said that the best hero would win, and even if they were friends, Leame still wasn't going to back down. Hearing this, Phoenix smiled. Phoenix grinned and said that in that case, he would get number 1 and would wait for Leame. The boy smiled and noticed that Phoenix was talking as if he had already received it. The hero stated that it was because he was angry at his best friend, who left silently and nothing was heard from him since then. Leame said that he had already apologized for that. Phoenix said, displeased, that besides, Leame had new friends, a lover, and he was having fun all day. Leame awkwardly said that it was not like that. Afterwards, the guy sighed and asked if they would drink. Phoenix, confused, asked if they shouldn't. Hearing this, Leame simply chose one drink and said it would be his. The bartender walked away, and 2 drinks appeared on their table. Leame raised his glass and said that it was for their rivalry. Phoenix smiled and said that it was also for the 2 heroes gathered there. After that, the guys walked along the night street. Phoenix paused and said that tomorrow his group was going to the 10th floor. Leame said that he already knew about it. Phoenix paused for a moment before saying that they were going to win and he hoped Leame would be watching closely. The guy grinned and said he would be watching them with his own eyes. Phoenix said he would be 1 step closer to becoming number 1, and Leame said he would be looking forward to it. Phoenix said that his friend was talking as if he was going to lose. Leame dodged the question and said that they would find out tomorrow. Phoenix pulled his hood up and said he would definitely win and show them what it meant to be a hero. Leame smiled warmly. The guy apologized and said that he had to go somewhere, after which he asked Phoenix not to follow him this time. The hero said that he agreed only if Leame did not get lost again. The guy sighed and agreed, saying that he would tell his friend where he worked later and show him everything there. Phoenix agreed and said that he also wanted to know about his friend's beloved. Leame asked loudly if the hero was mocking him. Together they laughed, looking at each other. They finally said goodbye. Tomorrow they would meet in battle as an adventurer and a monster. Leame turned away, thinking that tomorrow there would be a battle between the hero of people and the hero of monsters. The reporters approached Phoenix. They wanted to know what the guy had to say about them attacking the 10th floor. Phoenix replied that most adventurers couldn't get past the 1st floor. He said that the Demon Lord's castle was not an easy dungeon. One of the reporters started talking about the fact that the group had changed its composition since the 5th floor, and the dark magician Leame had left them. The reporter said that Phoenix had known the guy since childhood. He asked the hero to tell him if the loss of his best friend had affected their strategy. The guy silently thought that they had agreed that reporters would not ask about the guy. Phoenix never said anything about Leame's departure in public. He couldn't understand what was wrong with them. None of the reporters are going to be happy to hear that Leame is that strong. All they want to hear is some slander about the guy. The hero thought that he would never give in to the reporters. Phoenix replied that Leame was a great comrade and a good dark magician. Suddenly the guy turned his attention to the girl. He called Bella by name, which confused the reporter. The man assumed that it was the girl who replaced Leame. He said that the group simply replaced the guy with someone stronger. Bella replied with a smile that if the reporter thought so, then she sincerely felt sorry for him. The man was very surprised. The girl said that if anything had improved since she had joined, it was the group's appearance. She said that the group's balance had been much better before. The reporter asked if they were saying that Leame was a great dark mage. He countered by saying that they were talking nonsense now because the guy did nothing and was dragging the group down. Bella asked what his evidence was. Bella added that Ariel himself had recently invited Leame to join his group. She asked if they knew who he was. The reporter couldn't believe it was number 1. The man quickly asked Alba what he would say about this. He exclaimed that it was the guy who told Leame the truth to his face and asked him to leave. Alba asked the reporter, annoyed, if this was really an interview in front of the 10th floor. He asked the man if he could shut up and stop asking questions for people who weren't there. He asked if he should repeat it. The reporter, confused, agreed with the guy. The other interviewers began asking if they could ask questions now. They were curious about the upcoming battle. After some time, Phoenix approached the reporter, who asked what had happened. He asked if the guy had any questions for him. The hero replied that it was the other way around. Phoenix said menacingly that he wanted to warn the man to watch his language in the future. The reporter was very scared by this. Bella called out to Phoenix. She told the leader that she understood that he valued his best friend very much. However, she asked him not to threaten people with magic. Phoenix told her that he wasn't threatening her, he was just warning her. She agreed since he said so. The guy said that the girl looked good in this group. As the leader of the group, he was pleased to see it. Bella said she was glad to hear that. She asked if the guy missed Leame, to which he told her to stop. The guy asked if everyone was ready. Bella told him not to avoid the question. Lily asked about how it might be better if Bella was with her. She said they could do more that way. Lark asked if she was serious. He was saying that the girl needed to know how dangerous it was out there. He didn't want to have to go through all that again. Bella smiled and said that with such a group, they would win in any case. Alba said that no matter what happened, he would survive. Phoenix said that they were going to the 10th floor. Meanwhile, in the Demon Lord's castle, Leame sat on the throne. He was informed that the Phoenix group would be arriving any minute. Lem asked who else didn't know how to act. He said that after all, they had already fought him once. Lem thought that as the leader of the Demon Lord's army, someone who is personally trained by the Demon Lord, he could not allow this dungeon to be defeated. He agreed that the Phoenix group was strong, but they were not that simple either. Lem was willing to show them all their strength. He wondered if they thought they were weaklings. Lem thought he wouldn't let that happen. He told the guy that the enemy was coming here now. He asked why they were so calm. The guy said that the Flame Hero could truly be considered one of the strongest people. Lem said that he had gathered them all here for another battle. He told them to tell him if they wanted to lose again. The monsters shouted loudly that they didn't want to. The leader of the werewolves, Marchosius, shouted that they had gathered here under the command of Leame to defeat the hero's group. The guardian of hell, Nabarius, said that Marchosius was right. He said that he had 3 heads, and today he would break them and kill them all. Also with them was the invisible assassin, Glacia Labolas. The warrior who rules the spirits, Kimaris, said that he wanted to add the Hero of Flame to his collection. He added the words that it was, of course, with their help. The hunter, Larage, who was immersed in darkness, said that today she would make the elf who had blocked her arrows pay for her words. Also standing nearby were the Knight of Doom, Furcus, and the vampire queen, Camila. Lem said something about how great it was. He was saying that they had already lost to them once. However, they had determination, so they would never really lose. Leame exclaimed that victory would be theirs today. He said that to achieve it, they only needed one thing, to follow his orders without question. A loud cry from the monsters was heard. Marchosius called on the others to swear allegiance, shouting that this was all for their victory. Camila bowed to Leame, saying that they would all follow him and that everyone here believed in him. Lem put on his mask and replied that it was wonderful. Phoenix's group entered the dungeon. They headed inside. Lem heard footsteps, so he said that they were already here. The guy thought about how his appearance was hidden, and his voice was changed by a special module, so they wouldn't know it was him. Lem greeted the guests on the 10th floor, the abode of demons. The guy used exactly the same system on the 5th floor, only then he was not the floor boss. The 10th floor is a very long corridor, and there is only one passage through which adventurers can pass. For this reason, Lem is currently the only defender of the floor. Using his magic, he slowed down Phoenix's group. He considered whether he should ask the mobs on the floor to try to kill them now. He decided that it wouldn't work. Lem thought that even so, the boys were not so weak. He thought that it might be selfish of him. After all, he had beaten them to victory in a fair fight. Leame said that he was the supreme commander of the Demon Lord's army. He introduced himself as the one-horned dark mage, Leame. Phoenix also introduced himself, saying that he was the Hero of Flame, the one who knows no defeat. Lem spoke the words that so be it. He said that since they came to this place with evil intentions, then they should die at his hands. The guy used his power, which made the guys very surprised. Phoenix grinned at that moment. He suddenly began to laugh loudly. Lem watched Phoenix laugh with a sly smile. The hero began to calm down. Bella called out to the leader in shock. Phoenix, hiding his smile, came to certain conclusions. He thought that it was amusing. The hero took out his sword and prepared himself. He said words about how he should give it his all then. Lem replied that the boy should not let him down. Lem sat with a smile on his face and thought that the flame hero was far from a stupid person, and he had long ago realized that Leame was his best friend. Lem turned to the flame hero, saying that since he had withstood his attack, they should play. Alba looked at the enemies carefully and realized something. Lark said that they were generals. He said that even if they defeated them individually, it would not be so easy to defeat them all together. Leame thought that it was no secret that in the Demon Lord's castle the bosses were her generals. However, now the guys would have to combine strategies to defeat them, because there was more than one of them. But everyone also knows that there may be rare monsters on one floor, except for the boss. For this reason, the guy ordered the others to wait in the transfer room. This way he can summon them at any time without breaking the rules. Leame thought that Phoenix didn't know about the guy's ring yet, so they had the advantage for now. Lily turned her attention to the Dark Knight Furcus. She said that things were bad because her arrows were not piercing him. Bella said that if they were planning to move to the next floor, they needed to act now. Lark looked at the boys and told them not to worry because they could leave him alone if they wanted. Lily replied that it wasn't a good idea because one group tried it and lost. Bella asked if it was the Thunderclap Heroes group. Bella said that they lost because they lost one person, it's no secret anymore. However, she hoped that there would be no more dark mages here. Alba shouted words for them to stop because it was boring to watch. He shouted for them to stop using dark magic and fight in a fair fight. Bella said something about how she thought the guy understood the meaning of the word strategy and a real god. He came to the conclusion that it seemed she was wrong. Leame thought that it seemed like the girl understood all of his power, but she didn't understand that Lemegeton was Leame. Alba turned to Bella saying that she was stronger than Leame. However, he said that the guy did not talk that much. Bella replied that it was because they were so stupid. Alba did not understand the girl's words. Suddenly, Furcus rushed to attack. Phoenix prepared his sword. After one blow, Furcus's weapon was broken. Phoenix headed towards Furcus. They clashed with each other. The general was very surprised because the guy quickly attacked him. Phoenix said words about how impenetrable the general was. More monsters appeared behind him. Bella called out to the leader, shouting for him to stay away. She quickly attacked all the monsters. Bella said that the Draconians were lucky that she was a melee fighter, and that they died quickly, thanks to Lily. Lily was surprised, saying that high-speed shooting was harder, but without it, it would have been difficult. She thanked Bella. At that moment, a girl appeared. She spoke of how pathetic the adventurers were for raising their hand against Lord Lemegeton. She said that they would pay for their actions with blood. Lark said that he could sense her S-rank skill, Vampire Dance. He said that it was best to avoid her attacks. Alba said that he should wait a few seconds and he would put an end to it. At this moment, Phoenix looked at his group, nodding his head. The guys nodded in response. Alba said that he didn't care how far away the enemy was or how strong he was. He shouted that dark magic couldn't be cast on a weapon anyway. Camila and Furcus were very surprised. Leame thought that with Alba's powers weakened, this was all he could do. His magical sword could take any shape the wielder imagined. He also thought that weapons usually couldn't be enchanted with dark magic. However, Leame thought that he knew Alba because they had fought side by side for so long. Alba shouted that he hoped the dark mage would die with the same expression on his face. Leame deftly dodged the sword, which greatly surprised Phoenix's group. The boy took Alba's weapon in his hand, saying what a lovely sword it was. Leame advised Alba to let it go. The boy, shocked, began cursing at the mage. He couldn't believe how he had done it. Leame thought that Alba's magic sword moves exactly where the owner thought and immediately returns. The guy knew this very well as the fact that Alba was aiming at his head, which is why he was able to catch it. Leame thought that Alba didn't know that magic could be transmitted through the sword, so the dark magic was now stronger on the boy. He told Alba to suffer. Alba, shocked, began to curse. He shouted that the magician was laughing at him. Lark called out loudly to his comrade. By this time, Camila had her weapon ready and was heading towards Alba. She quickly attacked his arms. Alba began to cough violently and then began to breathe heavily from the wounds he had received. Leame watched the scene unfold. Camila told Alba not to worry because she would slowly hurt him until he had no strength left, and then she would kill him. Alba was breathing heavily and cursing. Lily and Bella watched the boy in silence, and Lark tried to help. Alba shouted at them not to come near him or even to go there. Leame was surprised that Albi was not a fool, because he thought of himself as a pawn to save the allies. In a normal situation, he would also ask his allies for help, knowing that he would die. However, this is different. The situation is out of the ordinary. Camila playfully spoke of how interesting it was. She said that without his sword, without his hands, the boy asks his comrades not to come near. She asked if it wouldn't be better to beg for help. Alba asked why the girl was so sure that he had lost. He said that he still had 2 legs and could fight. Camila apologized to him, saying that they would win here. At that moment, the bats flew at the guy, who began to curse at the monsters. He shouted that they should not dare to talk like that while their hero was still alive. Leame turned to Camila and told her not to kill the guy yet. The girl was surprised and then replied that it would be as he ordered. All the adventurers' things will disappear after their death. The guy thought that until they died, their bodies would disintegrate into small pieces. So, since the guy was alive, Leame could use his sword. Leame thought about how Alba had bragged for years that he was the only one who knew how to use it. He wanted to show him how wrong the guy had been while he was alive. The group was very surprised. Bella shouted words about how it was impossible. She said that only Alba could use his sword. Alba, cursing, said how the magician dared. At that moment, Camila hit Alba, telling him that she wanted to see him suffer. She told him to tell her what it was like to see some worthless dark mage wield his own holy sword. Alba told her to shut up. Lemegeton, sitting on his throne, swung his sword. He used the activation of the magic sword. Alba saw his sword, after which he began to curse furiously at the dark magician. Lily turned to Bella and asked her to do something. Bella replied that she couldn't because that mage knew Alba's fighting style. She said that he knew their group very well. Bella also said that he knew how to change the trajectory of the sword. Lily told him to hit the area, to which Bella replied that she needed to prepare a spell. She couldn't just use freeze. Lily shouted for the girl to deal with the other enemies then. Leame thought that Lily was reading the situation well. This meant that the girl wanted to separate all the enemies with an ice wall. The guy thought that was interesting. However, there was something else. He thought about Alba. If the boys abandon Alba, they can save the rest of the group from the sword, but their group is too noble, so they won't take such a step. Especially for a group that ranks 4th, such actions are unforgivable. Phoenix shouted for them to save Alba. Bella told the leader that she understood. Bella quickly used her power to create a wall of ice. Alba was confused. The sword was rapidly approaching the wall, but it turned back. Leame thought that they were quite easy to read. He already knew that the guys wanted to let Bella use magic. Lemegeton, looking at his hand, thought that he also had something for them. He ordered Marchosius and Nibirius to appear. Marchosius was glad that the commander had called him. Nibirius said that he was waiting for Lemegeton's orders. Leame ordered them to break the wall. The monsters quickly accepted the boy's order. Leame at that moment began to call Glacia Libolas, Chimaris, and Larai. Chimaris said that the boy had called all 5 of them. He was talking about how strong Leame was. Laria said that was why they had accepted the boy as their advisor. She told Lemegeton to give the orders. Leame spoke the words that they were following the plan. He turned to Glacia, saying that he was using invisibility. Marchosius turned to the commander, saying that he was almost finished. Nibirius also joined him. Leame told them to wait for his instructions for now. Leame grabbed the holy sword and swung it. Phoenix thought that the Dark Knight Furcus was quite good. He kept up with the hero's attacks even though he was fully armored. Phoenix said that he thought Furcus wanted to fight him, but he was just stalling for time. The general replied that he was acting as his commander had ordered, that is, fighting one-on-one. The boy was surprised. He asked if the general really trusted him that much. Furcus answered affirmatively, saying that the boy would lead them to victory. They continued to fight. Phoenix thoughtfully thought about the fact that the monsters actually acknowledged the guy. However, he himself could not do it. He replied that he was happy for them. Phoenix said that victory would still be theirs, when suddenly something surprised him greatly. The hero was surprised that the amount of mana behind the wall had increased. He thought that, judging by the mana, it must be the floor boss. Suddenly, he was surprised that there were 5 of them. Phoenix shouted words for everyone to be careful because there were 5 monsters behind the wall. He said that their type was no less than the floor boss. This information shocked the team. Lily said that there were already 2 of the 4 generals here. Bella shouted that the ice wall would soon be broken. Lark said that there should be 6 of these monsters here, but he already sensed 8. Phoenix thought about how each floor should only have 1 boss, but he could have an assistant assigned to him. It was always like that. The only exceptions are generals, because they are always on their own. The maximum number of bosses on this floor is 6, but there are already 8. Phoenix said that if the rules were strictly followed, then summoning magic was involved. The group listened in silence. Bella asked about how summoning doesn't use up a huge amount of mana. She said that if he could summon 5 bosses at once, it meant that his power was comparable to the Demon Lord himself. Phoenix thought that if it was really Leame, he would believe it. The hero thought about the fact that the boy began training his magical organ at the age of 10, and continues to do so to this day. Alba called Phoenix by name and told the boy to forget about them and use his magic. The hero said the boy's name, thinking that he couldn't use it. The magic would affect everyone around the boy, including his allies. At that moment, Bella shouted that the ice wall was about to be broken. Marchosius finished off the ice wall, and he and Nibiria stood before the boys. The werewolf introduced himself as Marchosius. He told the flame hero to fight him. Nibiria spoke of his flames and fangs. He exclaimed that they would now know his power. Lark asked where the other three were. At that moment, a sword cut through the air. Phoenix managed to dodge, quickly calling out to Lark. Lark replied that he knew. He thought he could defend himself. However, he was greatly surprised because the sword bypassed his defense, attacking quickly. Leame held the sword confidently in his hands, while Phoenix looked at the guy with excitement. The girls froze, and Lark was surprised. The guy started to disappear. He said something about it being fun. Before he disappeared, he managed to apologize to Phoenix. Alba called Lark by name, and Leame turned to Camila. He told the girl that this was enough. The guy told her to finish with Alba. Camila accepted the master's order. She turned to the warrior Alba, saying that she wanted to thank him. The girl said that he, with his abilities, helped them defeat his own comrade. Alba said that he remembered the girl. Camila replied that she had already forgotten him. At that moment, the bats rushed at the guy. Phoenix stood in front of the dark mage. Bella called out to the leader, saying that she had already understood everything. The girl said that this was the dark mage Leame. Phoenix looked at Bella, and then thought that she had realized that he was Leame. Bella said that she wanted to go and deal with him. She asked the leader to give her permission. Phoenix listened to the girl in silence. They were surrounded by monsters on all sides. Phoenix thought that the guy's movements indicated that he knew them well. The guy decided that in this case, it would be better to send Bella, since he did not know her. Bella assumed that Phoenix wasn't giving her permission because he wanted to. The guy thought that was wrong. He just didn't want to make decisions based on his feelings. Phoenix wondered if Leame could read her fighting style as well. Bella said that she would then go to Lemegeton and deal with him. She turned to the leader with the words that he should protect Lily for now and destroy the others. She asked if he agreed to this. Phoenix thought that he didn't really have a choice. The boy approved of Bella's plan, telling her to go. He told her to be careful. The girl replied that she understood. Bella went to Leame. On the way, Camila and Fracaius missed the girl, which surprised her greatly. Phoenix noticed that no one stopped Bella. He realized that Leame had predicted everything. The boy quickly called out to Bella. At that moment, monsters appeared in front of Phoenix. The guy thought that he could not leave Lily. The werewolves said that their advisor had given them a great opportunity to take revenge. They said that the hero of flame should accept their challenge. Another werewolf said that they would attack in turns and he would attack first. Phoenix asked why they were not together. The werewolf replied that they could have dealt with him differently, but their commander had listened to their request for a fair fight. Phoenix thought that Leame was a good leader. He was proud to have him as his friend. However, he thought that they were underestimating them too much, especially since they said that they could have dealt with the guy much earlier. Phoenix thought that he could really fight a bunch of enemies, but the outcome of their battle was not yet decided. The hero agreed, saying that he accepted their challenge. Bella was surprised when she got to Leame's throne, which was empty. She couldn't believe that the guy just disappeared. Bella said that this was the work of Glacia Labolas. She shouted for everyone to be careful because there might be hidden enemies here. Phoenix and Lily nodded, and Bella began to look around, saying that it was mean of them. Leame thought that he should definitely warn the others. The girl learned a lot despite the fact that she was not originally in this group. The guy thought that Bella was a great adventurer. He assumed that the girl probably already knew who the guy was. Leame thought that the girl was trying to break his defense, but she would not succeed. Bella swung her sword. Leame realized that she was using ice dust. He thought that invisibility was not that effective against her. By dispersing the dust, Bella would see where the enemy was and would be able to defeat him easily. The girl shouted the words that the guy was caught. The ice rock pierced the guy, but something really surprised the girl. Leame apologized to Bella because it wasn't him, but a spirit controlled by Chimaris. They had prepared many of them as a diversion. Bella was amazed by what she saw in front of her. However, she thought that this was not the end. She attacked all the spirits at once, which made her tired. She asked why the boy didn't attack her. Bella assumed that Leame thought she was weak. Leame apologized to the girl if he seemed rude to her. However, Leame did not want anyone to approach him except Alba or Lark. When meeting Phoenix, Leame wanted to be as less exhausted as possible because he had already spent a lot of mana. For this reason, he decided to let others deal with the girl. Suddenly, Chimaris appeared in front of Bella, saying that he was very impressed with the girl. He sadly said that he was not the commander-in-chief, after which he apologized. Bella assumed that he was a necromancer. Chimaris introduced himself and apologized for not finding the girl on the second floor. He added that now they could cross blades. Chimaris had long said that he wanted to create a spirit from the hero of ice. Leame thought that each of them had their own reasons for fighting. Bella assumed that Kimaris wanted to create a spirit from her magical body. She apologized, saying that this would not happen. Kimaris asked the girl with a smile if she accepted his challenge. Bella wondered if this was all part of their commander-in-chief's plan. She asked if he would hit her again in a mean way. The demon said that she shouldn't worry about it because he won't use dark magic or his spirits. Bella exclaimed that she wouldn't believe it, they wouldn't fight. Kimaris smiled slyly and said that in that case they should begin. Immediately after that their swords clashed in combat. Bella swung her sword upwards, then pulled her sword out for a thrust, which created a magical flash. Kimaris dodged a fast flow of ice that was heading straight for him. Her ice was so powerful that it rose almost to Leame's feet but stopped in front of his feet. The boy noticed in confusion and wondered if her mana had recovered. He understood that the girl had used up almost all of her mana on that ice wall, and that was despite Bella being young. He couldn't help but notice how promising she was. She regenerates more mana than her body can hold, and she's not one to just continuously cast powerful spells. That's why Leame believed that he was the only one there who could compete with the girl in magic. However, the guy was sure that Kimaris would defeat her in battle much earlier. The boy knew that this demon was not only a necromancer, but also a knight. Leame understood his feelings and desires, and therefore he dispelled his dark magic during their battle. Bella tried to attack Kimaris in the head, but he quickly noticed this and dodged her. Then he made a dash to the side, which confused the girl. Kimaris looked at her predatorily and said that it was simply wonderful. At that very moment, he pierced her body with his sword. The girl looked at him with difficulty, saying that next time she would definitely defeat him. Kimaris put his weapon back in its sheath. Kimaris smiled and said that next time he would add Bella to his collection again. He began to suck all the power out of her. Bella shook until the sparkle in her eyes disappeared completely. Kimaris looked at her and smiled widely, saying that it was simply wonderful. Leame appeared right behind Kimaris and told the demon that it was a great job. The man turned his attention to the dark mage. Kimaris bowed and said that it was all thanks to Leame's excellent planning. He also noted that they had better thank Glacius Labolas for this, because he had done a good job as well. Kimaris looked at the boy and asked what to do next, and whether he should fight the flame hero himself. The boy was silent for a while, then said that there was no need for that. Kimaris bowed deeply and apologized, but Leame said that everything was fine and the problem was only that the phoenix was too strong for Kimaris. He quickly said that the demon would die immediately, and that was why Leame would deal with the hero. Kimaris remained silent and then asked if he could bring back those killed by the ice hero. Leame agreed. To Kimaris, Phoenix is the one who destroyed all the bodies he collected. As he is more of a necromancer than a knight, Leame understood his pain and why he avoids combat. The reason was that Kimaris had very few bodies left. At this time, there was only one bow lying on the floor, while Lily was fighting the enemies with a small knife. The girl ran at the ghost dogs one by one, cutting them with her knife. She took a deep breath, then suddenly felt incredibly tired. The girl exclaimed that if she had known he was there, she would have done something. At that moment, Leame used his dark magic. Elves are much more resistant to dark magic than others due to their more developed magical organ. That is why Leame had to make some adjustments to her spells. Leame continued to press dark magic on Lily as she struggled to fight off the ghostly dogs. The girl's breathing became ragged as a bright spark appeared behind her, wounding her. Lily was confused and tried to understand where they were shooting at her from. Suddenly, she froze, seeing an elf with a bow in front of her. Lily immediately recognized her opponent as Lariah. The girl asked how it was to fight under dark magic. She also asked how Lily felt when she could not give it her all. Lariah said she can now guess what they all felt when they met this team. Lily asked if Lariah meant that they were winning only because of Leame's dark magic. In response, the girl said that it was only because of her, and Lily should not worry, because their commander was now reducing his magic a little so that they could fight. The elf said that first Lariah should put away the arrow that she had already pulled. Lily glanced briefly at her bow, which was lying on the floor not far from her. Lariah asked if Lily was going to try to provoke or harm her enemy. Lariah then said that Lily was right, and she should pick up her bow. The girl dropped to the ground and raised her weapon, while the ghost dogs and Larage were just waiting for her. Leame lowered his hand at this time, and the elf shook her head at him. Leame thought that they could easily defeat them by throwing themselves at once, but they all preferred to settle their scores in a one-on-one fight. When Lily stood up, she noticed in confusion that the dark magic on her had disappeared. At that very moment, Lariah loudly exclaimed that they should begin. Lily cursed and pulled back the bowstring, then began shooting with godlike speed. Lariah had no trouble dodging each of her enemy's attacks. She was already very close to Lily. The girl was very surprised and did not understand whether Lariah had really read absolutely all of her movements. The girl cursed. Lariah was right next to Lily's body. She pulled her bowstring back and fired straight into Lily's throat, who just stared in shock at what was now sticking out of her. She didn't have time to do anything, feeling weakness on herself. Lariah watched this silently. She calmly told Lily that without the help of their dark mage, all she had left was speed. Lariah told the girl that she better start training her skills better. Lily looked at Lariah with resentment, but at the last moment she looked away and disappeared from the battlefield. Lariah watched this silently. Leame thought that he had only one enemy left, which was Phoenix. The hero turned around, realizing that Lily had been defeated and had left. Suddenly, a huge burst of fire breath flew at the hero, released by Nefarious. Phoenix covered himself with his hands and was able to protect himself. At that moment, his mind immediately recalled how Lily told him not to dare to even try to protect her. At that time, the elf was new to the team, but even then she said such harsh words. Phoenix did not think that the monsters in front of him would want to fight one-on-one, as they did with Lily now. However, the girl lost in a fair fight one-on-one, opening herself up and receiving serious damage. She claimed that if they fought individually, they would be able to win more than if they all fought together. It was an extremely bad opinion, but he supported it because they were friends, and it is extremely difficult to refuse loved ones. Nefarious turned to the hero of Flame and said that everything that happened was his fault, and therefore Phoenix should simply burn in his flames. The other monsters gathered behind them and silently watched the battle unfold. Marchosius was extremely silent in his observation. Suddenly, the expressions on all the demons' faces turned into ones of intense surprise as they watched the fight between Nefarious and the Flame Hero. In the huge flash of Nefarious' fire, a blurry silhouette appeared, from which Phoenix soon emerged, without receiving a single wound from this. The demon was amazed that his flames did not harm the hero in any way. Mila was also surprised by how monstrous the Phoenix's power was. Kimaris and Lariah watched in silence while Marchosius sighed happily. Leame was extremely happy, because now Phoenix had no comrades to worry about, and therefore he could use all his power without any limitations. However, even so, Leame was firmly confident and was going to defeat Phoenix. He clenched his hand into a fist, already looking forward to the next battle. Phoenix apologized to Nefarious, confidently stating that his flames were not enough to defeat the hero. Nefarious responded by shouting words about how he would then bite him with his fangs, because nothing would save the guy from them. At that moment, Phoenix pierced Nefarious with his sword and said that on the battlefield one must fight, not talk. The boy said goodbye to his opponent. Nefarious lit up and began to ask the hero to wait, but Phoenix only moved on. The monster spoke words about how this was not the end. Phoenix moved on under the surprised looks of the monsters. The hero suddenly turned to Marchosius, reminding him that he wanted to fight him one-on-one. At that moment, a wolf rushed at the guy, and someone shouted after him to wait. Phoenix struck Glacia Labolis with one blow, apologizing for the boy completely forgetting about him. The hero turned to Kimaris and Lariah, telling them to attack. Phoenix said that he respected them all and always had. He said that knowing the two of them, he wanted them to attack together. The necromancer braced himself, saying he would see what would happen. Phoenix charged, and Kimaris thought the guy was pretty fast. The demon said they couldn't even see the hero's sword. Phoenix swung and dealt a powerful blow. The guy said that now he was sure that Bella had not lost for nothing. He said that Kimaris was an excellent swordsman. Kimaris was shocked. The next moment, an arrow quickly flew towards Phoenix. Lariah sighed in displeasure, and the boy grabbed his sword. Marchosius laughed loudly, talking about how incredible this power was. The werewolf noted how much pressure the boy was putting on his opponent. Phoenix apologized for making Marchosius wait. Marchosius shouted the words that they could begin. He rushed to attack, and the boy Loveko attacked. Phoenix was very confused because the hand he had injured did not catch fire. Marchosius laughed, asking the boy how he felt about it. The flame hero decided that he had to finish with him as soon as possible. The boy thanked the werewolf because he realized something at that moment. Marchosius replied that he was glad to hear it. He said that he would see how the boy would learn it in the future. Phoenix apologized to Marchosius and said that he couldn't do it because he would fall first. The werewolf replied that he was only here to take a fair revenge. Phoenix struck the werewolf with a powerful blow. Marchosius said that it was a good fight. The boy agreed with him. Phoenix thought that all the monsters strongly believed that Leame would defeat the hero. Phoenix thought that in any case, even if he lost, he would try to take over the castle again. and that meant he could meet Leame again. The boy apologized to Furcas and said goodbye. Furcas was shocked. Only Camila and Leame remained. Phoenix was afraid that they would not have a second chance after all. Phoenix approached Lemegeton and said that he wanted to fight him, but he didn't know what to do with the girl in front of him. Camila asked Leame to give the order because she was one of the 4 generals. Lem looked at them carefully, then turned to Camila, ordering her to kill the flame hero. The girl accepted the order with a smile. Camila quickly began to attack the guy who was protected by the barrier. He calmly approached the girl. Phoenix pointed his sword at her, then stabbed her. He apologized to the general, saying that she would not use her blood control again, and then bid her farewell. Camila exclaimed that Phoenix really thought that her flaming body would stop her. This greatly surprised the hero. Camila shouted that she personally did not think so. Phoenix was amazed that the girl's regeneration was much faster than the rate at which the body burned. Phoenix wondered if she could really resist his power with just her willpower. The boy squeezed his sword and then struck the girl. There was a mark on the boy's face that surprised him. He thought that this was the last blow for the girl. Phoenix believed that she was truly worthy of her title of general and could rightfully be called the Queen of Vampires. Camila thanked Lemegeton with her last strength, telling him not to worry about her. She wished him luck and the boy accepted it. Phoenix looked at the boy and said words about how he hoped that he had now earned the right to fight him. Lemegeton answered in the affirmative. He said that the hero had defeated all of his subordinates. Phoenix suggested that Leame had already figured it all out. Lem replied that they both knew what was going on. The flame hero asked the boy what he was going to do now. The magician replied that the hero should know the rules about the loser being eliminated. Phoenix noticed that Leame's strength had increased greatly. The dark mage asked the hero if his comrades were holding him back. The hero answered affirmatively, saying that he couldn't use his full strength in front of them. Lem replied that he understood, and the hero added that the generals were too strong for the boys. He said that none of them would win, so the best option was to fight them alone. And that scared him. Lem asked if it was true. Phoenix answered yes. He said that his best friend had left the band. He said that his friend had said that if he was the only one strong, then what was the point of forming a band at all? Phoenix also said that a friend told him that it was more fun to plan and fight with friends. He added that there are things you only understand after losing friends. Lem asked the boy if he was really a hero. He said that everything was going very funny. Phoenix said that he was also waiting for the demon to become serious. Phoenix spoke the words that for this reason he would start first. A huge power enveloped the hero. Lem scolded the hero, saying that they could write him a bill. Phoenix replied that he knew, but he wanted to fight Leame for real, and he wouldn't be able to do it on camera. Phoenix asked the magician how much time he thought they had, because someone who would replace the camera would come to them anyway, and he would be there any minute. The flame hero approached Lem and said that they should fight to decide who was stronger. Lem agreed with the boy. Phoenix readied his sword, saying that he, the hero of flame, would defeat the dark mage. Lem reached his hand to his face. Lem took off his mask, saying that he was a dark magician. He said that the hero would fall today. Phoenix said that the hero would be the one who won. Lem added that for that reason he would not be defeated. Once Lem was told that he would succeed, the boy called out to the teacher, who replied that Lem had been studying for a year but had become so strong. The teacher said he would ask again. He asked the boy if he wanted to become a hero. Lem answered that heroes are strong. He said that they defeat opponents, help friends, and are loved by everyone. The boy said that he wants to become a hero. The teacher said that the boy could become the strongest dark magician, but he would never win alone. Lem then replied that he would create or join a group, and there he would be able to show his true strength. The teacher replied that this was quite commendable. However, he said that until the boy achieved mastery, he would never understand the difference between himself and the hero. The boy exclaimed that he would try. The teacher stroked the boy's head and said that he had no special talents. He also said that he could not use any weapon perfectly. He asked if the boy understood. Lem answered negatively. The teacher said that Leame was a very strong guy. He told that he had lost everything, his best friend had betrayed him, and now he has the position he wanted. The man said that he did not give up and asked for help from other demons, and when the time came, the hand of an evil old man squeezed his throat. He called the boy by name. The teacher told Leame that from that day on he officially recognized him as his student. The boy confidently agreed. The man said that he would give him power, but when the boy would use it, he would begin to become more like the teacher. The boy looked questioningly at the teacher, who suddenly broke off his horn. The teacher told the boy that he forbade him to use power for evil purposes. However, when victory was at stake, Leame had to use it, even if it meant losing hundreds of lives. The teacher also added that, however, by accepting the power, he would receive even more pain and suffering than he had now. He asked the boy if he understood. Leame exclaimed that he understood. Leame told Phoenix to watch because he was the first one to see the true power of the Dark Mage. The hero, with a mischievous smile, replied that the guy should show it to him. Leame touched his hand with a smile. He clenched his fist sharply. Phoenix watched closely what was happening to Leame. The Dark Mage's body began to change. Bone wings began to appear from his back. Phoenix and Leame stood in the Demon Lord's castle. The Flame Hero suddenly realized that the Demon Lord himself was standing before him. Leame had completely assumed the form of a Demon Lord. Phoenix asked the boy with a smile if he had really been hiding such power all this time. The Dark Mage looked at the hero in front of him with a slight smile. They prepared for a duel. Leame stood and thought about how the demon's horn increased magical power quite a bit. High mana density and a large amount of mana can greatly affect spells. However, they are also able to share magic with each other through a master-servant contract. Demons gather all their power in their horns, which means the bigger they are, the more of them there are, and they are generally stronger. The Demon Lord has many servants, which means his power surpasses any demon. Lucy told the boy that he was still very strange because he only had one horn. Leame understood what the girl wanted to tell him then. The boy thought that by receiving the horn, he became the successor to the Demon Lord's power. However, the horn is usually incompatible with humans. For this reason, the master attached it to him with his secret technique. The pain of its existence tormented the boy every day. Leame's mental body was screaming in pain. It took him many years before his body got used to it. Phoenix asked Leame with interest how many years it actually took the guy. Leame replied with a smile that it took him long enough to defeat the hero. Phoenix asked about Leame having just spent it on his group. Leame asked in response that as far as he knew, no one had ever run away from Phoenix in a one-on-one fight. Leame said with a confident expression that he would be the first then. Phoenix only chuckled at this. The hero was enveloped in white flames. Leame silently watched Phoenix, who was preparing for a duel. Phoenix clarified Leame's words, saying that it was called the Divine Flame. Phoenix said that his spirit said that even the soul in this world can be burned to ashes. Leame asked him if he really wanted to use such an ability on him. The Dark Mage thought that this was not ordinary magic that could be just thrown around. Phoenix asked his friend if he remembered their agreement. Immediately after that, the Flame Hero exclaimed that he was going to defeat Leame and become a true hero. Leame smiled slyly and said that then they should stop talking and start fighting. A heavy atmosphere hung in the room. Holding his sword, Phoenix suddenly told Leame that he realized the fact that this was the first time they fought like this. The demon said that this was why he was going to give his best friend a really good beating. They looked at each other and smirked before rushing at each other with their attacks. Leame created a large energy ball that Phoenix quickly tore through. The Flame Hero charged straight towards his opponent, ignoring the obstacles. Leame was somewhat surprised that Phoenix simply rushed forward. He didn't want his friend to be so stupid. Leame wondered how much mana Phoenix thought Leame had accumulated in that time. He raised his hand to show Phoenix his power. Suddenly, everything around the hero froze. This was no ordinary dark magic. This power was all the darkness that accumulated in their world, dark magic, and even light would not dispel it. Such magic can instantly mold a person or kill in the blink of an eye. The body can become motionless, like a stone. Ogo immediately shows that there is no salvation for the one who died under its influence. Phoenix was holding on with great difficulty. Suddenly, he raised his gaze and walked on, not even paying attention to this terrifying pressure, leaving craters under his steps. Leame expected that Phoenix would not just fall under it, because it has the highest resistance to dark magic, but even it cannot completely extinguish it. And therefore he will spend his strength also on resisting Leame's spells. The demon's goal is to lower his physical parameters, because they are on different levels, and once he succeeds, then fighting Phoenix will become much easier than it could have been before. Leame thought that the defense was still understandable, however he couldn't believe that Phoenix had agreed to reduce the attack. The Dark Mage suddenly realized that the hero would fight with his divine flame. The Phoenix quickly rushed towards the mage. The ceiling in the building began to crumble, and Leame noticed it. Phoenix was running towards the guy at great speed. The walls and floor began to break from the power of the Flame Hero. Phoenix shouted words about how victory would be his, and he would prove it by defeating Leame. Leame supported the mood, saying that he would show Phoenix how heroes lose. Phoenix swung his arm, screaming who said he was going to lose. He was screaming that he was going to win. Leame raised his fist, asking Phoenix if he was sure. He told the boy to try it. The Flame Hero and the Dark Mage clashed with all their might in an attack, and their faces showed a mad determination. The fight between the two boys sent a wall of dust into the air, blocking everyone's view. Leame held his ground as rocks flew around him. Suddenly, the boy saw a bright phoenix in the air, which surprised him greatly. The wings of this bird were bright red, which surprised Leame a little. At all possible speed, the phoenix approached the enemy. Leame looked straight at him, thinking that in a battle between two heroes, one of them must lose. He knew that he had to win. Phoenix knew how strong Leame was, and therefore he would not let him win with all his might. He tries to win not as Leame's friend, but as a hero of flame. However, he understands the essence of what they are fighting now. In the past, they always supported each other on the path to their dreams, telling each other that everything would be fine. Phoenix screamed that he would not let Leame win. He also added that he was going to become the strongest in this entire world. Leame clenched his fist and remained silent, after which he also rushed into the attack and exclaimed that he had already told Phoenix this, and he had said it more than once. Leame exclaimed that here and today the victory would be his. Two strongest attacks met in battle like two bright flashes. Phoenix used his spirit while Leame swung his fist heavily to strike, when suddenly the hero called out his friend's name, which Leame did as well. Two flashes of light met in the air, creating an incredible explosion. Leame screamed loudly, not wanting to lose in such an important fight. He exclaimed that he would use absolutely everything he had accumulated in the horn, and all of it for the phoenix. Phoenix and Leame clashed in another powerful attack, sending debris flying in all directions. At that moment, something began to crack. Phoenix and Leame looked at each other in shock, without losing their composure. A moment later, a small demon horn broke off from the Dark Mage's head. Phoenix asked Leame in surprise if even 4 great spirits were not enough to burn him. Leame managed to pierce Phoenix with his hand, causing his face to slightly contort in pain. The Flame Hero let go of his sword, which surprised Leame greatly. Phoenix picked up the mask of the Dark Mage who was covering his face with it. He looked at the boy with a caring smile, carefully putting the mask back on his face. The Flame Hero called out to his friend, saying that he would return to this place. He said that the boy had now become a very troublesome boss. The boy said that everything would be fine. The phoenix body that Leame was holding began to dissolve. Leame's horn also began to dissipate. The phoenix turned to the hero who had defeated it and said that he would definitely fight him again. Leame, with a wide smile, answered the hero of flame that next time, victory would still be his. Phoenix said that he wanted Leame to be okay and that the boy would be strong. He said that for that reason he couldn't use his horn on anyone but Phoenix. The boy said that he wouldn't forgive the boy if he didn't listen to him. The Flame Hero called Leame by name with a warm smile on his face. He said words about how the boy had become a great hero. Leame said words of gratitude to his friend. At that moment, someone screamed loudly. The reporter with the camera apologized to the Flame Hero, Phoenix, and the one-horned Dark Mage, Lemegeton. The girl asked the guy in confusion what was going on. The reporter reported that Lemegeton had just hugged Phoenix, but the Flame Hero had Lemegeton's arm sticking out of his chest. She asked in confusion what had happened. Phoenix looked at Leame until the last moment. He said that it was a great fight. Lemegeton replied with a smile that the hero of flame, Phoenix, had also fought well. Phoenix, with a smile on his face, closed his eyes and disappeared. The reporter asked in shock that Phoenix had evaporated. Everyone was shocked that Phoenix's group had been destroyed. She reported that the flame hero, Phoenix, had lost to the Demon Lord's army. Lemegeton said that some unforeseen circumstances had simply happened. The girl exclaimed in surprise, asking what that meant. Leame said that this was the reason Phoenix came out, so technically they were destroyed. The girl listened silently as Lemegeton spoke about how the Phoenix group had not lost. He began to say something else. However, at that moment, the Dark Magician disappeared, leaving the reporter alone. Leame returned. He said that he was now tormented by the question of whether he had done the right thing. The guy decided to let the situation go. Leame happily reported that he had returned victorious. Leame was met by surprised demons. Camila approached the boy while the others stood nearby. Leame turned his attention to Cashew and Lucy, who were standing to the side. The girl rushed towards the boy with tears in her eyes. The demons watched silently. The Dark Mage hugged Cashew and smiled. The Demon Lord also approached them. Leame bowed slightly to the girl who praised him. Arielis was also next to Lucy, watching the boys with interest. Everyone happily surrounded the boy. Later, Leame, as promised, met with Phoenix to talk about their work. The show of the battle on the 10th floor became the most watched, after which, Alba, as usual, persuaded everyone to immediately take revenge. The rest of the group realized they weren't that strong though. Bella made it a topic of discussion after the loss. the audience was pleased. They liked a story where the hero is overtaken not only by a positive fate. Bella had already realized who Lemegeton was during the battle. She had always been different from other adventurers in her insight. In any case, she was against such a quick rematch, because now it was not worth relying on the power of the Phoenix alone, and the Spirit of Flame needed time to recover and give him strength. And Leame too, because he spent all the mana he had saved for 9 years, and the guy started saving it when he was 11. However, now he doesn't need so many years to restore the mana he spent. After all this, they left for another city to conquer a dungeon there. Lem was walking down the street when he suddenly noticed Phoenix's group. He greeted them. Alba asked Lem what he wanted. Leame told him that he had heard that they were going to another city. Alba was surprised and asked who had told him that. He assumed it was Phoenix. Lem said that it wouldn't hurt for the boys to become stronger. Alba asked with displeasure why the boy hid his strength. The mage remembered that Phoenix had told him that Bella had realized what his dark magic was capable of, and that Alba had also understood everything. Lem assumed that Alba wanted to know why the boy hadn't objected when they asked him to leave. Alba hesitated and said that Lem was a dark mage. The boy asked, "So what?" At this point, Lark intervened. He asked why the boy hadn't told them everything right away. He said that if Lem had shown his power, the whole group would have changed their minds. Lem asked the guys if they could figure out who was talking about preferring someone stronger instead of a support class. Lily replied, now they thought that her words were stupid and senseless accusations. She admitted that it was her fault. Lem sighed, saying that he came here only to say goodbye. Alba didn't think that the girl was the only one who felt guilty because they all looked down on the dark mages. Bella said that if they trained more, the difference in the absence of the dark mage might not be noticeable. At that moment, someone turned to Leame. Phoenix asked the guy if he was really waiting for him to say goodbye. Lem answered in the affirmative. He wanted to say something else, but changed his mind. The magician asked Alba if the warrior could control his sword. This question greatly surprised the guy. Leame did not argue that it was beautiful and unusual. However, he told Alba to remember that the further he moved him away from himself, the longer it would take to return. Leame said that he would advise choosing a shorter distance for the attack. Alba hesitated silently while the others watched. Lem told Lark that he usually chooses actions that are better and do not require much effort. His actions are very easy to read, so Lem advised him to think about refining his tactics. He told Lily to focus on the number of hits, not the rate of fire. He said that godlike speed is good, but you need to know where to use it. Lem also turned to Bella and asked if she was a hero. He said that the girl often looks around, makes quick decisions. Her magic is amazing and there are many ways to use it. Bella thanked him for the praise. Lem guessed that Bella wasn't very good at close combat. She said that was exactly it. The girl said that she would try harder. Lem looked at Phoenix. Lem noticed that only Phoenix remained. The hero told the boy to say what words he wanted to tell him. Lem said nothing of the sort. He said it would be nice if he just became stronger and relied less on his spirit. Phoenix said Lem was right about that. You shouldn't always rely on it. The mage said that Phoenix was their hero, chosen by the spirits, so he was very strong without him. He told the boy to just be careful. Phoenix asked if that was all Lem wanted to say. The hero extended his hand. Lem wondered if it was a friendly or farewell handshake. They shook hands, but something surprised the guy. Phoenix said that he, the hero of Flame, would never abandon his friends in trouble. He said that the boy could rely on him. Lem wondered if the boy had figured out that his summoning ring was a magical artifact. Phoenix had sent his magic into it, thus making a contract now. Lem awkwardly asked Phoenix what he was doing. He asked how the boy imagined summoning a hero in the middle of a battle to fight for monsters. Phoenix, with a mischievous smile, replied that he would simply make himself a special avatar. Phoenix said goodbye to Leame, calling him commander. Leame waved the guy off, telling him not to do that. Leame wished everyone luck and said goodbye. Suddenly, someone yelled at him to wait. Lark said something about how the guy never told them about his true power. Lem asked why they did that. Alba asked the boy what he did for a living. Lem asked if they were interested. The warrior awkwardly replied that he was just asking. The magician laughed and said that he would show his power if they promised not to tell anyone about it. Alba said that they had agreed. At that moment, Lem put his hand in his pocket and pulled out Lemegenton's black mask. Lily, Alba, and Lark were shocked by what they saw.